All right. All right. We're back again. I'm back again. Once again, I've returned. I've returned to save the day once again. Um, I'm just kidding. I'm not here to save anything. What I am here to do is bring straight fire to the youth. Straight fire to the youth right now, bro. Alright. I gotta give it up for them. I've been gone for like 2 days. I was trying to be consistent, but I ended up hurting myself, bro. I ended up hurting myself, bro. I ended up doing something I shouldn't have done. And yeah, I've officially reached unk status. I've officially reached the stage in my life where I can't do things as fast as I have wanted to do. Pause. I'm just at that age. You know what I'm saying? I pulled the back muscle, y'all. I pulled the back muscle. I pulled the muscle, and I didn't mean to pull the muscle, but man, I can tell you, bro, that stuff hurts, bro. When you pull muscles, bro, that hurts, man. And I got messed up for like 2 days. I could not move my body properly. I felt like a 64-year-old because I could not move my body properly. I was all messed up. My alignment wasn't aligning. Like my body wasn't moving how I wanted it to move. My one leg wasn't synced up with the other leg. It was a bit weird, man. I had no aura for like 2 days. But it's a little bit better now. I can actually feel my body moving how I wanted it to move. Pause. And I'm back again. I'm actually back again, and I'm doing God's work. No, I'm not. I'm not. But I'm back. I'm back again, and I'm here to actually do something productive once in a while, instead of like just scrolling through Instagram Reels, TikTok, and just freaking brain rotting the shit out of stuff, bro. But what I have today here for you all, I have a few motivational words that I would like to share with the crowd. Motivational words that I definitely did not get from an AI prompt. I promise you. Some of this was written by me. Some of this was written by the AI. But isn't that like half of life, bro? We got AI, Spotify, pop stars right now, bro. So a lot of the stuff is gonna come down and is gonna dilute to that AI stuff, bro. But I have like the jazz retro in the back. Shout out all my jazz fans. I'm an unk now, so it's become apparent to me that I need to start listening to jazz more as I'm growing older now. But without further ado, I have a few words that I want to say to inspire the youth and to inspire everybody out there that's dealing with this thing we call life. And it goes like this. Life. Soft as the slow turning of a key, life opens its doors again and again. It arrives like rain on a dry tongue, like a letter left under a pillow, like the impossible smallness of a child's hand slipping into yours. We learn to fold our days into pockets, to carry the bright and the blunt together, to press the good against the sore until both leave the same thumbprint. I can tell you, bro, I've been going through a lot of sore times, physically, maybe emotionally too, but mostly physical because I hurt my back. There are mornings when the sun is a modest thing, a soft coin placed on the eyelid of the world, and we awake richer than we know. There are nights that hold us like a patient ocean, pulling and teaching us how to let go. The city exhales in a dozen languages. The trees keep a slow counsel, and the heart, that secret blacksmith, shapes grief and joy within the same hammer. We are apprentice and artisan, forever discovering the grain in our own hands. Every breath is an instruction. Every pause is an unmarked map. Remember the small betrayals that taught you what honesty costs. Remember the lighter ones too. A laugh spilled over the kitchen table. A quiet forgiveness that felt like the world tilting back into balance. There will be days that bruise like the late fruit and days that shine like a newly minted coin. Both kind of days teach the body how to stand in weather. Love does not arrive wrapped in certainty. It is a shabby, earnest creature that keeps finding its way through the doors left ajar. It will come with the smell of coffee, with the awkward tenderness of a grocery queue, and with the hand of yours in the dark that stumbles towards the light. Sometimes it speaks in storms, sometimes it whispers in the pain vowels of everyday care. Learn to not understand both its violence and its gentleness, but to understand that there will be times when your name feels like a foreign country, when the mirror shows you a face that you do not recognize and that you are afraid to knock within. Do not flee from the unfamiliar. Sit with it like an old friend who has changed. Bring tea, ask questions, and offer your honest hands. Newness is not a denial of what has come before. It is an invitation to deepen. We do not travel light. We carry histories tucked into the seams of our coats, the echoes of lullabies, the clipped instructions of our ancestors, the unpaid debts of our promises. Some of these things we will stitch into quits that keep others warm. Some we will lay down on the roadside and let the wind take. Choosing itself is a kind of prayer. Choose with hands, pause with that stutter right there, that have held and lent to be tender. Time will teach you the economy of openings. Not everything demands your voice. Not every silence is a wound. There are conversations you must not enter, and there are silences you must unseal. Wisdom is learning which doors to open and to which doors to keep closed until you are ready to open those doors eventually. And when you find someone who opens a door for you without asking, cherish them. Grief is an honest teacher who will insist on being noticed. It will reshape the rooms inside of you, rearrange the furniture of your days, and grief will show you where you have been stubborn and where you have been brave. Do not be ashamed of the slow ritual it asks you. Let the tears come as rainfall, many small mending rains. You will not forget the brokenness but you will learn how to carry it like a lantern. There is a quiet art in being present and being around. To listen without devising the answer. To sit without another one's sorrow as if it were your own, and to hold your tongue long enough for truth to appear. There is no small feat. Presence is the steady thread that tells strangers into family and moments into memory. Practice it as you would practice a song, daily, patiently, with a willingness to be imperfect. Joy is not the opposite of sorrow. It is the companion who knows the same streets. Find joy in the ordinary, the way light collects in a mason jar, the ridiculous politeness of pigeons, the improvable victory of a child mastering a knot. Let these small triumphs become your creed, and celebrate them openly and sometimes alone. Like secret fireworks kept for the heart's private sky. Forgiveness is not a grand erasure. It is the slow unclenching that allows new breath to move through you. Forgive not because the others deserve it, but because your hands deserve relief. Some wounds will teach you your boundaries, and others will teach you mercy. You have to learn from both. Work is not only what it earns your dinner. Work is the tending of the garden that is yourself, the pruning, the patient watering, the occasional stubborn transplanting. Be faithful in the small tasks that keep wonder alive. Sweep the floors of your mind. Read the small print of your own days. Make things, even if those things are only songs hummed into the darkness of careful folding a letter. When the world tilts and the map trusts dissolve, remember that maps are human. They are useful, but not the territory. The landscape is older and kinder than our needs to label it. Walk with curiosity rather than certainty. Let questions be the compass you use when stars misalign. There is a liberating dignity in saying I do not know and then walking away. Aging is not a theft, but a subtle addition. Lines are harvests of laughter and nights. Silver is the quiet punctuation of all the stories that you have carried. Wear your years like a shawl, not as an armor to hide behind, as a woven testament of passage. Tell your children the stories, the way the trees tell rings, plainly with room for interpretation. Do not hoard your apologies or your kindness. Give them freely as water to thirsty flowers. There will be mouths that refuse your offering, but let them refuse and water other gardens. Your generosity is not measured by the breadth of its applause, but by the steadiness of its practice. This is a really long ass poem. Remember to play. Let your feet forget the careful cadence of worry and rediscover the improvised steps of joy. Sing loudly in the car, dance in the kitchen, make faces at the moon. You are not too old for making mischief. The world relents the face of delight and sometimes yields its hardest gift to those who are foolish enough to ask. There will be doors that slam and doors that open with a sigh. Meet them all with the same soft courage. Practice gratitude, not as a currency, but as a posture. Notice the small things that repair you. An honest friend's silence, a Sunday with no plans, the crispness of a new notebook. Keep a list in your pocket of these repairs and read it when you forget how to breathe. When you must leave a room for the first time, leave it with the same tenderness you would leave a lover's house. Smooth the blanket, close the window, say what you must, even if your voice trembles. Do not be cruel to your own endings. Let them be careful and honest. Life is less a story with a single moral than a constellation of small truths. Each choice is a star. Some go out and some burn steady for a lifetime. Stand beneath them and learn the geography of your own light. Forgive your younger self for making these crude sketches. Thank them for the danger in their imagination and keep drawing. Above all, carry this, a poem for the hands that reach to your feet to stumble. Be tender enough to feel the pain and brave enough to love through it. Be honest enough to name what you cannot fix and generous enough to try anyway. Be still enough to hear the longing of the world and busy enough to answer with small determined acts. In the quiet between breaths, remember the most ordinary miracle you woke again. You will make mistakes, you will make beauty. You will lose and be found. You will break and be rebuilt by hands you could not have imagined. Say thank you when the light comes and when the light goes. This is how we live. Imperfect, stubborn, luminous, but still we stay with the hard work of being human. It is the only work that will ever matter. When you read this aloud, let your voice be the bridge that the words cross to reach other hearts. Speak slowly and enough to each syllable so that you can sound it out, can settle like a pebble in a pond, and long enough that silence has time to answer. End, not with a closure, but with an invitation. Keep walking, keep loving, keep making small, fierce wonders in the world. There is a long road ahead, and you are exactly the kind of traveler that it needs. And with that was a very long ass poem. I'm not gonna lie to you, I did not expect that poem to be that long, but it's just something I wanted to like sort of read aloud and sort of like just, I don't know, get out into the world in that sense. But you know, other than that, we just here for vibes, really, truly. Other than that, bro, I haven't streamed in like 2 days, and I'm quite excited to just like get back into the swing of things. You know, just doing what I do, just doing what I love. You know, this instrumental has actually been on my mind for like quite a long time, and it's an instrumental by Dean Blunt. I'm sure for those who listen to Dean Blunt and have listened to a few of his songs or you know, are avid listeners of his albums. He makes amazing music. Um, this I take no credit for this. This is a beat on his album, and the song is called Nine. And I really love the instrumental. It's such a powerful, very simple, yet such a sentimental and ponderous instrumental. And it goes like this. Oh, that's too slow. I really like that beat. That beat is super awesome. Um, so what I wanted to do today is I actually wanted to just uh, see if I could sort of write something to it, as there has been a lot on my mind, and this might be a little embarrassing, so I might just full screen this and take the face cam off because I look embarrassing when I rap. But I wrote a little something, and with the vibes and etc. and everything being thrown around, I wanted to sort of just like spontaneously break into a song. So this is the 9D Blunt instrumental. This is my rap over it. If it's fart, you know where it lies. So gotta take a huge dumper. But if it's not, might be a cool little thing. But anyways, um, I'm gonna just see what I can say over it. Um, this might be so booty, bro. But anyways, yeah. Uh, yeah. Oh my God. See, my voice is cracking already, bro. What the fuck? Yeah. Uh, that's right. Yeah. Uh. Illuminating thoughts about the fears and who we lost. Desert sands moving in the wind and through the halls. Never seems clear, but it's clear to see the faults. Take it off the pages. One for the ages, one for the money. Moving through the stages. Two for the valley and the shadows through the ages. Call me Mr. Cuddy. Call me Mr. Rager. You know where we going, I'ma go and see you later. I got big problems staring me down. At least I'm looking up, so it's hard to see the ground. Falling through the sky, cause that's the only limit. If you can see the vision, I'ma see you in a minute. I got big dreams, big numbers, and big rings. 3 summers, 4 clovers, get the ring. Keep me, payola, unseen. I'm clean, free the scene, free the team, free Gaza, free Palestine, all the Palestinians, free the Sudanese people and the people in need. There's a crisis indeed, we ought to stick together for the better, for the rest, for the better, for the rest, never less, always, 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 always. Alright, now that we got that embarrassment out of the way, I came to do what I came to do right now, and we're gonna react to one of my favorite artists called Joji. And a lot of people might know Joji. He is a very, very, very famous pop star, one of the most famous pop stars, I'd say in the world right now. Like his spread is worldwide, bro. Like, and it's insane because, I've been listening to Joji for like a super long time now. And I can vividly remember the first time I actually listened to a Joji song was like in 2017, which was when he like first was like actually making big waves with 88 Rising, which was his like label, which he was signed to for like many years. Like he actually came up with 88 Rising. But for those who are actually very entrenched and really know like Joji's lore, he was actually a YouTuber before he became like this big artist who he is today, this big beloved artist, and he made pretty funny but very controversial YouTube videos. And he used to go by Filthy Frank, Pink Guy, Francis of the Filth, whatever you want to call it. But he's since buried those skeletons in the closet and just burned down the whole thing. And a lot of fans are still sentimental and still nostalgic for that era. But I feel like that's something that Joji's long lived in his past. And he now only goes by George Miller, Joji. And, he's just, making his music and just being the best artist that he can be and making the music and art that he wants to do. Because, it took a while for him to integrate like the music side of things, especially being the type of YouTuber that he was and the type of content that he made. It was quite a long road and quite a scary one to sort of like fully transition from like a YouTuber who basically was like probably like a culture pioneer for like the meme and brain rot just like culture that we have right now. He was one of like the front leaders. Like he created like the Harlem Shake. There was a lot of stuff like back in 2016. This guy was huge, bro. And to just like take that and just transition into something he loves, it was a very brave thing to do. But he had the skills and the talent, definitely the talent, to back up what he was doing at the time. And the first time I saw him, and the first time I saw a music video by him was in 2017. It was like 3 a.m. in the morning, bro. I don't even know what I was doing up at that moment. I probably should have been sleeping, but I was watching the Yeah Right music video, and I'm not gonna play that right now because there's a lot of like PG rated content in that music video. But it's that music video is like so freaking cool, bro. It's like one of the coolest music videos I've ever seen from him, and it was a very unique experience seeing that type of like raw, just like unfiltered. The shots weren't like the best shots, but I felt like there was a true rawness and a true like honesty in his art that I felt was like super rad, and which I really gravitated. I can't speak for shit. Which I really gravitated towards when I first was listening to him, and that just like led me to like sort of dig up more on this artist and wanting to know more on who Joji is, where did Joji come from, who is this amazing artist. And in that year following like 2017 to 2018, he was actually doing an album run for Ballads 1, which was like his debut album. And bro, that's such a nostalgic era for me because like I was in high school back then, and that's like that's like the music that resonates with me till this day. Was like that era of music with it was him from like In Tongues, then going towards like the Yeah Right era to like the Ballads 1 era, which In Tongues was like an amazing EP for me. Probably one of my favorite EPs till this day. And it just showed that Joji had the potential, the talent, and the true rawness of a true artist that isn't afraid to just dig into like that thing or like dig into like that honesty and rawness that an artist is supposed to have. And so the reason why I'm here today is because he released a new music video today called If It Only Gets Better. But nonetheless, he did actually also release a single 3 weeks ago called Pixelated Kisses. I don't know if you can see, already has like 3.9 million views. This guy is just absolutely insane in terms of like numbers wise. Like he's actually like one of the biggest artists out there. But without nonetheless, he did drop a new single today, and he's also gearing up for a new album cycle, which if you are a Joji fan or you're a Joji stan and you've been in the Joji fandom for a while, we've been waiting for like years for this, bro. Like his last album dropped in 2022. It's 2025 now. It's been like 3 years, but it felt longer because I feel like with every album cycle, when an artist drops, especially an artist like Joji, I don't know, man. It just felt like I missed him more. You know, I just felt like I missed this guy way more than I should have. Because I was just craving new Joji music. I was just craving new stuff from him, and I feel like that's part of the reason why he's so big, and why he's garnered such a loyal fan base towards his music, is because he drops great art, doesn't limit himself to one type of media form, um, but still manages to make like great timeless art, and then he just doesn't say anything and just goes on about his life, and I think that that keeps up the mystique and the aura. You know, because Joji got that aura, bro. That keeps up like the mysterious appeal from Joji that just allows you sort of like to like miss him more. But anyways, exciting news. He is dropping his new album, Piss in the Wind, February 6th of 2026. And that might sound like a very far date. Like, oh my god, that's next year. But if you think about it, there's only like 2 months left in this year, and then just another month. And Joji's been known to like sort of like extend his album cycle and his rollout by a few months. He did it with his album leading up to Nectar, and he did it with his album leading up to Smithereens. He drops banger singles. You know, doesn't really say anything for a month. Announces the album. A few months later down the line, the album drops. It's an instant classic. And with this album cover, I can only guess what this is meaning. But it just feels like this is gonna be a very conceptual, sort of like more emotional, and darker album for Joji, which I'm very excited for. And it seems that he's gonna drop a 21 song album. I don't know whether this is factual or not. We might have to check out the geniuses, to see what the track list is looking like. I don't know if Genius has that updated knowledge yet. Oh, they do. Joji announced his new album, Piss in the Wind. Shares new single, If It Only Gets Better. And he dropped If It Only Gets Better today. I purposefully did not listen to it, so this will be my first time actually listening to If It Only Gets Better, because I purposefully avoided that. Okay, so it seems that Genius only has the three singles. So even more exciting news. This is all coming at me at once. Pause. Not only did Joji drop a banger today, or like a single today, he also dropped, and will be dropping a new single, Past Won't Leave My Bed, this Friday, which is gonna be like insane, bro. Like, that's gonna be an insane day, bro. I think he's dropping it this Friday. It's gonna be the 7th. So yeah, it's this Friday, which is like, man, he's just going crazy right now. But I can't complain. I can't. I really can't complain. Where's Joji? Let's see. Does Spotify have the album countdown? Does not have the album countdown. It must be on his Joji website then. Maybe the people doing pre-orders for the album, or the vinyl, have already seen how many tracks are on the album. Let's see if we can sort of like sniff it out here. Let's see. Pre-order. So it doesn't really say. Maybe I'm missing something. I can't really see where it says 21 songs. But if it is 21 songs, then we're gonna eat good, bro. Spotify, let's see. Open Spotify. I'm sorry about this. I'm just doing a little forensic investigation. Okay. So it seems we are getting 21 tracks. 21 freaking tracks. Oh my days. 93 days. Wow. But anyways, 21 tracks. So we're actually eating good this album cycle. But without further ado, without me like yapping too much, I'm already like yapping my ass off. Let me just go crazy with this, bro, and just see what this is saying right now. All right. Okay, we got Joji. If it only gets better. Let's see what happens. Oh, you already got some PG content already. I'm not sure if I can show. Oh my gosh, that was the worst shot to leave it on. I'm so sorry. Let's just watch the video. If it only gets better. Let's see what happens. I'm really liking the strings. This is already giving me like a yeah right vibe. Let's go. Pause. Yo, shout out Rainier. Hey, how you doing, my man? I hope you good. Oh my gosh, bro. Hey, I'm also doing good, bro. Is that even Joji? What the hell? Oh my god, it's so short. Why is it so short, bruh? I blinked and the song was over. Dead ass. That's bro. Only a minute long song, really, Joji? You gonna do me like that, bro? I'm not gonna play this. I'm not gonna play the music video over because it's a lot of PG stuff on there. But damn, only an hour long, bro. What the fuck? That's some bullshit, bro. Anyways, I really like the song so far. Like, it's a minute long, but I already like wanted more from the minute long track that we have. I mean, Pixelated Kisses was also like a very short track. But this one is significantly shorter than Pixelated Kisses. It's like 40 seconds shorter. I don't know what Joji is cooking up here with this short runtime. Hopefully not all the songs on this 21 track list is just gonna be like a minute long. And I don't know, man. Knowing Joji, he might just drop a minute long song for every track here and just make the track like the album's gonna be like 21 minutes long, which is gonna be very frustrating if he does that. I don't think he will, but let's see, bro. This is such a short track, but it sounds really good, bro. It sounds extremely good. I wanna listen to this again. Man, I really needed more from this track, bro. It's so freaking short. I feel like that's gonna be most people's complaint. It's just too short, bro. Like, I can understand, like, you know, what he's trying to do here. You know, just keep it short and simple. But like, bro, we're already 20 seconds into the song and the song is already over, bro. That's insane. Herbie, shout out Herbie. Shout out Herbie in the chat. We got Herbie in the chat, man. I'm gonna need y'all to clap it up. Bro. Shout out Herbie, shout out Rainier. We are here. But regardless to say, I'm listening to this Joji track right now, bro. It's so freaking short, bro, but it sounds really good. I'm like 19 seconds in, and the song is already over, but it sounds really good.
If it only gets better from here. If it only gets better from here. And what's there to change about it? See, I just won't think about it.
See, it sounds amazing, bro. Bro. Bro, that sounds phenomenal, bro. But I don't know if he's going for like a interlude vibe, where he's just like dropping a minute song long. But man, that sounds way too good to just be an interlude. I hope when we get closer to like the drop of the album, he just holy Joji banger. I know, but it's so freaking short, bro. I hope when we get closer to like the album date that he maybe releases an extended version of this, bro. He can't just like do us with 1 minute and 8 seconds, bro. 1 minute and 8 seconds, bro. I can't process that quick, bro. I'm already like just stunned on the vocals itself. I can't process the whole the whole thing. Pause. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, it's Joji, so like I'm gonna take what I can get, bro. But anyways, give it a little clap up to Joji right there. We love you, Joji. We love you, Joji. And keep dropping bangers. He's dropping another banger this Friday. Hopefully that banger isn't a very short banger, such as this one. And it turns out to be, whatever it turns out to be. Oh, we got a preview? Oh shit, we got a preview. Say less. We got a preview for this track that premieres in 2 days. Past won't leave my bed. I'm already liking this because I like the trailer stuff. We already got people waiting for this. Holy cinema. 15 seconds of aura. I can already tell this is gonna hit me emotionally. This is gonna be like a glimpse of us type beat. Man, shout out Joji, bro. He has one of the best visuals in the game right now, in terms of like just unique visuals that a regular pop artist doesn't have these types of visuals. Like it's usually like cinematic glitz and glamour type stuff, but he's not afraid to like just get deep down and dirty with it, which I really respect. We saw it for like the Glimpse of Us stuff. He's not afraid to like go a little bold with it, digging deep into that emotional part of yourself that you didn't even know was there, and just being able to like, I mean, he's not even in the music videos most of the time. He just gives it over to like actors and stuff like that to like sort of like just create their own art, visually. It's really different from what usual artists, tend to do. I mean, he has his moments where he creates like really good art, and really stunning music videos. I mean, we saw it with Slow Dancing in the Dark, and like Sanctuary. When he wants to lock in, he can lock in. But otherwise, then he just has like music videos like this where it's just like, someone shaving someone's head. I don't know where this is located, but it doesn't seem like a very safe place. But he's not afraid to like show us and like clash with like the sort of lighter, or like emotional track. And in fact, I think it brings out a more emotional impact. Portraying this in a sense, because this is, like they say online, this is actually someone's life right now. This might be someone's life. Okay. So, I mean, this is really cool. But nonetheless, I really needed more from that track than what I got. If it only gets better, I mean, hopefully it gets better with each passing day. We got my comment over here. Can't wait to react to this. I did react to that, and it went by very quick. See, he has a very unique approach to his music video. It's crazy. He really knows how to like sort of like, you know. I don't know what emotional appeal he's trying to like get from the like the listener here, but the music sounds beautiful. Just very short. That's gonna be like my complaint of Doom. It's just too short. I wish it was longer. That's what she said. Pause. I don't know who this guy is, but I don't know if this is like a makeshift Joji. But that can't be Joji unless he's had like plastic surgery or something. That's just like a random Japanese dude. New album, Piss in the Wind, February 6th. I guess we're just gonna have to wait and just see what he has planned and what he has in store. You know, I can't complain too much, man. At least we're getting some Joji output in the world. You know, and that's all we can wish for. That's all we can hope for. It's just new Joji output into the world. You know, as long as he's making music, as long as he's happy, I'm happy as well. You know. And the other day, I was listening to like his older stuff, and man, just over time, it's just grown a ridiculous amount on me. Like, if you take a break from it and you come back to like music that was great, it just makes it greater, And that's why I say like he has this timeless quality of himself that just, it instantly hits. It's like a dopamine hit. As soon as you listen to the music, it just sounds very good, very impactful, very nice, very solid. And that's what I like, Even like his earlier stuff, like before he was like, fully Joji, when he was still doing like the Pink Guy, Filthy Frank stuff and sort of wrapping that stuff up. Like even like the You Suck Charlie era was just like, bro.
1, 2, 3.
Like just listen to this, like it just sounds like dude just has the voice of an angel. Like absolutely all of that.
I never see you. I never see you. I never see you. I never see you.
Bro.
I never see you anymore. Baby, can you be a little bit stronger?
That just sounds like really good.
Cause I need a little longer.
Yeah.
You're an earthly comfort, yet so divine, yet so divine. I never see you anymore.
But what can we do, bro? Like I say, as long as he's dropping, that's all I care about, Can't be out here, just expecting, him to drop like full length songs. At least he's doing something, and it sounds great. So I can't be too mad at the short run time. I can only say what my feelings are, and my feelings are not that important, because Joji dropped, it's gonna be all right. At the end of the day, if it only gets better, it can only get better. You know what I mean? So I mean that's really like the gist of it, bro. And that's really it, to be honest with you, bro. So I mean, when I first listened to Pixelated Kisses, like a few weeks ago, bro, my first initial complaint was like, oh, it's actually too short. Hopefully those 1 minutes are like trailers for the longer songs. I hope so too, bro, because that's like too beautiful to just like be a 1 minute song. Like I hope he just like says, okay, maybe I should just release like an extended version or something like that. and not just make it 1 minute and 8 seconds. But I don't know. Knowing Joji, he's a very perfectionist. He's a very perfectionist as an artist. So whatever he puts out, he considers that to be like the perfected final track. So can't blame the guy too much if he wants to put out the 1 minute and 8 minute track and thinks it sounds perfect. All in all. But like I was saying, like I thought Pixelated Kisses was gonna be like a song that I didn't like that much. I thought it was too short when I first listened to it. But now after like a few weeks of just like digesting it and listening to it over and over, it's one of my favorite tracks, really. I mean, like just the bass of it all. It's just like, dude, like it just sounds like very hectic. But I really like that distorted bass. It just sounds really good, and just like the contrast of like his lighter vocals over the song. It just sounds very angelic. Like there was a comment I read online that says this is how the internet sounds. I don't know if that makes sense, but like for me that like sort of like makes it sound like a little bit more modern, a little bit more confusing, and Joji as an artist always likes to push boundaries and always likes to do things his way, and I can sort of like respect that part of him, because it just makes him who he is. That's just who he is. He just likes to push the boundaries of anything. And speaking of like artists, bro, like I don't know what Spotify's been up to, but they've just been like on the whole smear campaign, bro. Cause they've been like making these false pop stars popular, or popularizing them. Why everybody's leaving Spotify? I really want to check this video out because I want to see what this is talking about.
Lately, I have seen a ton of YouTube videos and articles, all with the same messages.
Because it's essentially what it boils down to is just like Spotify is promoting AI artists, which is very concerning for a lot of artists, and why a lot of artists are not supporting Spotify anymore, which is kind of crazy to me.
Spotify is the worst. On top of this, on Twitter, Reddit, and other social media platforms, I have noticed a bunch of fans saying they are leaving Spotify, and both big artists and
I wonder if they have put it over. I wonder if they also have a boost feature like TikTok. Definitely, like if Spotify, in terms of like the people that control the platform and app, they have the ability to like push certain artists or push certain narratives about artists. Like we've seen it a lot with like the bigger artists like Kendrick Lamar, Drake. They have the ability to like make that artist or like that song that the artist dropped more accessible than just a regular person dropping an album. Like they can have that control over the platform, which is kind of crazy to me.
Bands are also pulling their music,
and a lot of people are pulling out of Spotify.
Spotify has just announced two big changes. The first being the introduction of a much higher quality audio and a search engine for free users, something people have been complaining about and begging for forever. And the longtime CEO Daniel Ek has finally stepped down. So it appears to me that Spotify is losing a ton of customers, and to try and keep people happy and keep people on the platform, they're adding features so more people stay. But why is all of this happening? Why do people hate Spotify so much? Well, from controversial military investments to very shady business practices related.
Yeah, because I also read about like the military investments. Like they were literally funding. I'm not too read up on this, but they were literally funding like some wars. Well, the bigger CEOs were like funding some wars out there in the Middle East. I'm not sure what it relates to, but that's also a huge reason why a lot of like bands and stuff were pulling their music from the platform, and it's just like crazy to see.
Fake artists. Spotify has been in hot water for quite some time now. However, it seems they've finally reached a boiling point and people are not happy, and these problems have been going on since Spotify's inception. If you were a music fan in the late 2000s, you had two options. You could buy expensive listening equipment and spend even more money on individual CDs, or you could use piracy software like LimeWire, Napster, and Pirate Bay and listen to every song ever made for free. It was an easy choice, which led to Napster having a peak of 60 million users at the time. Understandably, major labels weren't too happy about this, and they hit back against the piracy websites pretty hard. The RIAA sued 18,000 users in the United States alone, many of which were children, and many of the cases went to court. But it didn't work, and according to one of Spotify's founders, 98% of music consumption on the internet at this point was illegal. But the music industry had another trick up their sleeve, and that was streaming services. There were already streaming companies at this point, some of which had been around since 2001, but the problem was none of them were that good. Press Play, for instance, cost in today's money almost $20 a month, and for that price you would only get 300 streams a month. Not only that, but these services were often slow and clunky with extremely long buffering times, and that's when Daniel Ek comes into play. He was a talented programmer, and he claimed in the past that he founded Spotify because he wanted to save music. But given the fact that Spotify was initially going to host videos and movies too, this seems a little doubtful. In fact, Ek himself seems to have very little interest in music at all. His statements have often gotten him into controversy for this very reason. In 2024, he tweeted that the cost of producing content was close to zero, while earlier he said that you can't record music once every 3 to 4 years and think that's going to be enough. So he's definitely on some evil tech
bigger artists are doing
vibe. Anyways though, Spotify soon became very successful, and only 2 years after its launch it had 10 million users. Compared to its competitors, the Spotify experience was seamless. Ek and his partner Martin Lorentzen also had the perfect qualifications. Lorentzen was an expert in advertising, meaning Spotify's name recognition grew rapidly, while Ek's experience was in search engine optimization, which meant it was extremely easy to find the song you wanted. Spotify was also affordable. At $10 a month, you got almost every song you could ever want, but this affordability came at a price. Spotify doesn't actually pay their artists per stream, at least not directly. Instead, Spotify takes the total revenue.
In terms of like the artists' like revenue, posting your stuff on Spotify, bro, you can expect, even if you get like the top point something percent of like streams, like let's say you get 1 billion streams on an album, you barely get $1 million, like $1 million, or like let's take a figure like $1 million. Like they pay their artists scraps, bro, and that's why a lot of the artists, like, they just don't like Spotify that much. And most of the time, like most people, the way you support an artist is just like buying the physical copies, or buying their art physically, instead of like just listening to a streaming platform. It's easier to listen through a streaming platform. It just becomes in terms of like the artist putting out the music, they don't really get the best in terms of like revenue back from these streaming platforms. And Spotify, from what I've heard, is like one of the worst in terms of like the revenue that's being generated for artists. They pay so badly, but it is what it is. You want that comfortability, you want that cheap subscription for a month, which is not all that cheap anymore. Like, they have since raised their prices, but if you want that, you got it.
For a year,
do what you got to do.
Keeps 30% for themselves and then distributes the rest to artists, depending on what percentage of total streams they were responsible for. So let's say, for example, 1% of Spotify.
What did that say?
Depending on new for a year.
Spotify uses a pro rata model that pools all ad and subscription revenue for the month, keeps 30% and distributes the remaining 70% to artists based on their share of total streams. So based on a share, you'd get a portion of 70%. I don't know how that works out in terms of like math-wise.
Keeps 30% for themselves and then distributes the rest to artists, depending on what percentage of total streams they were responsible for. So let's say, for example, 1% of Spotify streams are from Taylor Swift. She would get 1% of the total pool of artist revenue, except Taylor herself would probably only keep around a quarter of that money, and the other 3/4 would go to her label. On average, Spotify pays out around 0.004 cents per stream, with the label's cut being taken out. Artists are only getting around 1/10 of a cent for each stream, meaning if you've listened to your favorite artist 1,000 times, you would have only made them a single dollar. Even early streaming services I mentioned, like Press Play, paid 1 cent per stream, so Spotify was like the lowest paying out of all of them. This model also makes botted streams, which is an enormous problem in the music industry that I've talked about before, especially damaging to artists. If you're not botting your streams and other artists are, they will have a larger share of the total number of streams than you, meaning your payout will be reduced.
Bro, what the hell is this? Who is just sitting in a lab streaming Joji like this, bro.
Damaging to artists. If you're not botting your streams than other artists are, they will have a larger share of the total number of streams than you.
I'm maximizing my shareholder value by scrolling through reels. This, bro.
Your streams and other
This
artists
is insane.
they will have a larger share of the total number of streams than you, meaning your payout will be reduced. On top of this, Spotify often pays independent artists less than artists on major labels, which together owned at one point 18% of the company.
What?
In its early years, artists on major labels were paid around 6 times more than independent artists. All of this has had
How is that
major
fair?
impacts on the music industry. In the 20th century, musicians made the vast majority of their money from record sales, and concerts were seen more as a means of promotion. That's why a ticket to
Yeah.
Woodstock 1969, widely considered the biggest and most legendary concert of all time, with artists like Jimi Hendrix there, cost around $100 in today's money. Today, things are obviously very different, and part of the reason that concerts are so expensive is because artists need those and rely on them to make a lot of their money. Of course, there's other reasons that I've also covered, but that's a big chunk. Low payouts are the main reason why, historically, musicians haven't put their music up on Spotify. The Beatles, for instance, were entirely absent from Spotify for its first 9 years, because they feared that it would damage their sales. Jay-Z withdrew his music in 2017 in a failed attempt to start a rival which would compensate artists more fairly. Spotify has always claimed that they can't afford to pay artists more, and that might have been persuasive previously when they were losing tons of money every single year, but last year Spotify had a profit of over $1 billion, most of which evades taxes entirely because the company's headquarters is in Luxembourg, a notorious tax haven. If services like YouTube Music can afford—
Wait, so they don't pay taxes in Luxembourg? Leaked documents show 100 companies are dodging tax in Luxembourg? Oh, damn.
His headquarters is in Luxembourg, a notorious tax haven. If services like YouTube Music can afford to pay out around twice as much as Spotify per stream, I'm sure they could pay a bit more too.
How many monthly streams would you have to get as an artist
That's
in order to earn
insane.
minimum wage? And this is without any other costs at all. You would have to have 567,000 streams a month in order to make minimum wage. We tried to find someone with exactly 567,000 streams just to show what sort of level of artist you'd have to be. And we found him, and it's Alison Moyet.
Oh my god.
So Alison Moyet, if all she relied on in her life was streams from Spotify, which is how people are listening to most of her music, would make minimum wage.
And Spotify hasn't just been accused of damaging its artists' pockets, but they've also been accused of damaging their music as well. At first, Spotify revolved a lot around its search engine, with Daniel Ek describing it as the Google of music. As Spotify's executives started to realize that most Spotify music was listened to in the background, and as they prepared to launch in the United States, they realized how important playlists would be. Today, around 50% of Spotify listening takes place on these playlists. Now, Spotify's official playlists aren't curated by any individual. Instead, a complex algorithm is used based on tons of data called the Syndicate. At the top are the biggest playlists: Rap Caviar, Viva Latino, Beast Mode. Below are the less popular but still big playlists, such as Most Necessary and Gold School. And at the bottom are the smallest playlists. New tracks are tried out on the smaller playlists. If they have low skip rates and high replay numbers, they graduate to the next level, and so on and so forth. This model does make it so the songs that people want to hear will graduate to the next level, and it gives smaller artists an opportunity to, blow up on these playlists. But it's also very controversial. In theory, every song ever made is on a level playing field. But this isn't actually how it works out in reality. Major labels employ entire teams of people lobbying Spotify to include their artist songs on their playlists. Even worse, this model has also played a major role in dumbing down popular music. Given how important low skip rates are, it's incredibly risky for an artist to include a slow burn intro on their song, because this can completely kill the song's retention. The same way that when I make a video, I try to get like an engaging intro so people stay and watch it. People are going to do that with their music as well. Some slow intros are great, like Pink Floyd, the Diamond song, the Shine On You Crazy Diamond, great intro. The fact that Spotify playlists are frequent,
and I feel like, I don't know if that necessarily dims like the quality. I'm sure there's a lot of like compromises that you could do to like make sure that, it's engaging from start to finish. But I feel like if you're an artist, like especially like trying to make, the art that matters to you most, like sometimes, you got to take the slow burns to get to like that sort of like full picture of what the song is trying to be. And I don't know if that necessarily is killing the art, but, in today's modern landscape, you have to sort of adapt to those types of things to get like the attention. You just got to be kicking it from like the start, bro.
played in the background means that many artists focus on making their music as anonymous and bland as possible, with nothing offensive but nothing exciting either. The focus isn't on giving people reasons to listen to your music, but avoiding giving them reasons to turn it off. This is a major reason why the pop music of the 2010s often seems so bland and flavorless. And while underpaying artists and simplifying pop music are bad, they're not too surprising. But something that reveals a lot more about the nature of Spotify itself is the fact that you might not even be listening to real artists. By the mid-2010s, Spotify was huge, and it had millions of subscribers listening to billions of songs. But like I mentioned earlier, there was a problem. Spotify was losing a lot of money fast. In 2017 alone, it lost over $1.3 billion. At the same time, it was paying out a ton of money to record labels. So Spotify began to wonder, as more and more of its users were listening purely in the background, why were they paying full price royalties if its users were only half listening? So that's when Spotify decided to pump out tons of tracks by ghost artists. This means that they would pay session musicians on the cheap to pump out hundreds of bland, personality-less songs tailored perfectly to the needs of a specific playlist. As one musician employed this way put it, the goal is to be as milquetoast as possible, play simply
as mid as possible,
and inoffensively. Individual studio musicians have admitted to cranking out dozens of tracks in a single studio session, giving them all one-word names, and then collecting their check. Spotify also buys the rights for these songs, so even if your track gets tens of millions of plays, you'll be paid the same low flat rate. According to an investigation by the Swedish newspaper News of the Day, only 20 individual musicians are responsible for the work of 500 separate Spotify artists, whose tracks collectively have millions and millions of streams. And Spotify gets really weird, and they start to lie and create stories to make you think that these are real artists. For example, on the Spotify page of an artist called Ekfat, it claims that the music is the work of a classically trained Icelandic beatmaker who graduated from a music conservatory in Reykjavik. I still have no idea how to say that town's name, but it seems cool.
Reykjavik.
He got his big break when he joined the Lo-Fi Rockers crew in 2017. But this whole description is completely false, and instead this artist's music is the work of 3 completely separate Swedish session musicians. All of this is why if you go on a playlist like Peaceful Piano, most of the songs are by artists who have no pictures, no information online, and no presence outside that specific playlist. And not only are these fake artists taking away playlist spots from potential real artists, they're also taking away money because of that revenue pool we were talking about earlier. By 2023, over 100 official Spotify playlists were composed entirely of fake songs. This includes some of the biggest playlists on the entire platform, which even you might be listening to. Deep Focus, for instance, with almost 5 million saves, is more than 90% made up of fake songs. And yet, if you ask Spotify about any
bro,
of this,
like, it's no wonder all this mid is on the playlist sometimes. Because I'll be listening to like these sleep playlists sometimes, and I'm wondering who are these artists that I've never heard of before. And turns out, bro, it's just Spotify just cranking out tunes, bro. Spotify is creating faceless artists essentially to just make these mid-ass songs that you can sort of like generically bop your head to while shopping, or I don't know what you like to do, cutting grass, but you know what, you can just cut grass to like this mid-ass Spotify ghost music, bro.
they are going to deny it. So clearly Spotify has been up to some shady, crazy, weird business for a long time. But when generative AI started blowing up earlier this decade, that's when things started getting really bad. Paying session musicians to create fake songs and fake artists is definitely shady, but at least it still puts money in the pockets of musicians. Since the rise of generative AI, though, that is not the case anymore. Deshaun Williams is an artist on Spotify who makes trap...
clankers. Bro, we are definitely listening to some cranker music, bro. I'm not listening to it though, but you know what I'm saying, there's gotta be people listening to this clanker music, bro. That we hearing. That's why Spotify keeps making the music, bro. You know, it's all these generic NPC ass people listening to the clanker music. You know, I said it. I might, shoot, you know what I'm saying? Clanker takeover. Yo, you gotta watch out, bro. You never know who's behind that. You never know who's behind that screen.
Mimi rap
could be a clanker
music with titles like Seuss Gone Savage and Mama Ain't Raised No Bitch. Despite releasing his first song in April of this year, he has gone on to release 127 more, amassing 324,000 monthly listeners, with numerous tracks over 1 million plays. And yet, if you couldn't tell from the incredibly ugly covers or the fact that several of his songs sound nothing like each other,
this boy dropping more than Young Boy.
Deshaun Williams doesn't actually exist.
God.
Instead, everything about
God, oil drink. Hold on now. Whoa. You getting a little too crazy, my boy. You getting a little what? Tin skins? Oh my God, bro. Stop this man right now, bro. You getting a little too crazy, my boy.
him, the instrumentals, the lyrics, and the album covers and song titles have been generated by AI.
Oh
but
my
Deshaun
gosh.
Williams is far from the only one. There are literally
Why did they name him Deshaun Williams, though? How do we know? How do you determine the race of a clanker? Do they even have a race? Does the clanker have a race? Or are we just being racist? I'm saying, though, like, how do you deter? It's a bot, bro. It's a bot. You know, you can't really like determine the skin color of a bot unless you're being, you know what I'm saying, a little, you know. But look, I don't know though. I don't know. Maybe they have like optimal efficient systems to like determine who's a little poopy and who's not. You know what I mean? So.
thousands of other artists just like him. For example, Tennessee Reaper, Georgia Phantom, and most infamously of them all, The Velvet Sundown, who at one point had 500,000 monthly listeners and became a very
Yo, Chad, are we going to the Tennessee Reaper concert?
huge topic that I actually covered a few months ago. I was actually doing some research on Spotify when autoplay kicked in and played this band called Lost in Blues. And if you look at this screenshot from my Twitter, it looks like they're completely AI. There's no information about them. They have no social media, and the music sounded very bland. So I figured this had to have been an AI band. But if I was just listening mindlessly, I would have never thought or realized that this was an AI band. There are tons of testimonies out there of people suddenly realizing that some of their most listened to artists aren't real artists at all. Now, there isn't any evidence to say that Spotify themselves are behind these artists, but given their history, it's not too hard to imagine. At the very least, they've been open about the fact that they plan to do precisely nothing about it.
Spotify will
scratch
not
that.
ban.
Since writing this video, Spotify said that they're going to try to crack down on AI music a little bit more, likely because of all the backlash they've had about it lately. But them cracking down on things hasn't always gone too well. For example, Spotify made a big effort to get rid of bots. One evening, an artist named Flashbulb, who's been making music for decades, was surprised to find out that his entire discography had been removed from Spotify.
When I discovered that my music was taken down, I immediately reached out to TuneCore. I didn't get any recourse or communication until I had already not only contacted the CEO of TuneCore and had colleagues of mine also contacting her and driving her crazy, but the parent company of TuneCore finally poked and said, hey, are you going to deal with this or not? I would have had a different distributor distribute my music to DSPs, but come to find out, there's not really a great one currently.
The reason was because he was accused of using botted streams, but he actually had done nothing like that.
So Spotify kind of pulls numbers out of the air and says, hey, we think that this person is using a botted playlist, or we think that this person is committing streaming fraud in some way. And then when I finally did get a response from somebody who made that decision, they claimed that they had evidence that they wouldn't show me the evidence, but they claimed that they had evidence that I was committing streaming fraud.
Instead, somebody looking to create a quick buck had created a playlist composed of AI songs and had bots listen to each track thousands of times in order to get a share of Spotify's revenue pool. But to make the playlist look legit, they had also been sure to add a few legitimate artists. Spotify, like I said, has been trying to clamp down on this stuff, but they kind of just disregarded the actual fake songs and got everybody in the playlist. What this could mean is that if you really hate a specific artist...
I'm gonna pop off for CF Team Prac. I'll join back later if you're still live. Liquor Vibe. Thank you, my buddy. Everybody in this screen, clap it up for Rainier right now, bro. Clap it up for Rainier right now. We love Rainier. Shut up. Good luck with Team Prac, my boy. You know what I'm saying? Get those CS2 gains in, bro. Get those CS2 gains in, bro. You got this. Have fun, brody. That's right, bro. Bro, I can never get the sound effect quick enough, bro. Clap it up for me. 45. All right. Okay. Shut up. Good luck with the CS2 practice, man. And shout out CS2, by the way. For any of y'all who are big fans of CS2, that game is cool. That game is pretty nice. Let's get back to the video though. Where did I put that video? Oh my god. Oh no. Alright. I'm just stupid. Oopsie.
There's nothing to stop you from creating a playlist of AI songs, adding some of their music too, botting it massively, and then sit back and watch as the artist gets their entire discography taken down. Obviously, don't do this. That's wrong and it's very illegal, but that is like possible, which is crazy. And not only can you take artist music down, but you can also put it up. Earlier this year, Emily Portman received a message from a fan congratulating her on her new album. The problem was she hadn't actually released one. Instead, an album entirely generated by AI, designed to sound as much like her as possible, had been uploaded on her Spotify page without her knowledge. And this is far from the only example of this happening. And it's actually really easy to do.
Using my handy dandy brand new account, I decided to see if I could upload music to my profile as me. I was a little worried I would have to find my Spotify URI by copying the super secure code after the part of the artist URL of Spotify, but it was actually automatically there for me. Every album needs good artwork though, and once again I poured my absolute heart and soul into something truly, absolutely beautiful. With that out of the way, why not add just one more step to see if there's any reason that this can be stopped? Now we just have to fill out the correct information for who wrote the song. We scroll down to the bottom, pass a couple more upsell opportunities, and then check the right boxes to make sure everything is totally 100% legit. And we're off to the races. We get the fun little check mark, and now we wait. And just like that, there it was.
Now, when this happens to a major artist, it isn't too damaging, as they can use their resources to get it taken down pretty quick. But that's just not the case for
That's why you be seeing, like, sometimes on smaller artists' page, I be seeing, like, just randos sometimes uploading with the same name. Like, let's say you're a small artist, right? And, you know, you release an album, you listen to the album, it's cool music. Then there's someone with the same alias, but it's a different type of artist or a different type of person. This person is from freaking Russia or something, bro, and he's uploading with the same username as you, and it sometimes it uploads on the same page as like the artist, which is insane to me. But usually it does get taken down pretty quickly. But I've been noticing that happen. I'm like, why does this happen? Like, did Spotify get hacked or something? But it's just that easy to just like bypass that system, which is insane to me.
Independent artists. Not only can it take weeks or even months to get it removed, but for a small artist who has spent years building up a small fan base, one bad release could be enough to get their fans to tune out. However, none of these controversies are the reason for the recent exodus of Spotify, because this next one might be one of the worst. Spotify's founders have never bothered hiding their political views, or the fact that they tend to be fairly right-wing. Eck and Lorentzen have both called for lower taxes and less regulation. Lorentzen has even worked directly with the moderate party, Swedish politics' primary right-wing force. But none of this has ever really caused much pushback until recently. In 2021, Daniel Eck invested 100 million euros into Helsing, a weapons company that specializes in drones and AI-driven warfare. And it just sounds kind of like an evil company that you'd see in a sci-fi movie. While Helsing's founders have promised to only sell weapons to democracies, that includes at least one country which is pretty controversial.
The one and only Jewish state and the only democracy in the Middle East.
Earlier this year, however, Eck went even further, not only investing an extra $1 billion, but also becoming chairman of the company, and people were not happy. But people's actions weren't only limited to complaining. In June, Deerhoof, a rock band that's pretty big in the experimental scene, withdrew their music from Spotify. Juju or Gigi, I don't know how I'm supposed to say that, but they also pulled their music too. And just recently, the biggest band so far announced they would be following. Massive Attack, a group with 8 million monthly listeners. In the case of Spotify, the economic burden that has long been placed on artists is now compounded by a moral and ethical burden, whereby the hard-earned money of fans and the creative endeavors of musicians ultimately fund lethal, dystopian technologies. Enough is more than enough. So far, none of these artists have been big enough to like pose a threat to Spotify, but when in 2021, Neil Young and Patti Smith withdrew their music from Spotify in response to Spotify's deal with Joe Rogan, Spotify quickly responded by adding disclaimers about COVID-19 misinformation to relevant podcasts. However, considering how much money they have wrapped up in this new Helsing deal, and the fact that Daniel Ek is now the chairman, it would be surprising if they back down this time around, unless a ton of major artists pulled their stuff. Regardless, all of these issues have a common thread. Spotify will do anything to make money. Of course, it makes sense. They're a business, and that's what businesses do. That's the purpose of them. But what makes Spotify unique is how they're happy to sacrifice their relationships with musicians, listeners, and the wider public just for a few extra bucks. Probably the best example of this is Spotify Wrapped. In 2019, an intern at the company called...
I'm not gonna lie, bro. For the first time I used Spotify and I saw that this rap stuff was coming out, I was like a sucker for that stuff, bro. I still am low-key like a sucker for that Spotify rap stuff. Like, I just keep the app around because I'm listening to, like, just wait for my Spotify rap. Because, I mean, last year's was pretty mid, but, like, all the years leading up to, like, the Spotify map, it's always, like, super fun just to, like, see what everybody else has been listening to. Just, like, the amount of hours you've been listening to your favorite artist just to show how much you love and support them. It's kind of worn out now. Definitely worn out now. But I don't know. I used to be like a huge sucker for that stuff.
Jewel Ham came up with a detailed series of plans designed to make the feature more exciting. When the company implemented these exact changes in 2020, she was not only given none of the credit, but none of the revenue generated from it either. Only a little bit of their profit could have set her up for life, so it's just kind of crazy how they operate. These last few years have not been good for Spotify. While the company's user base has been growing, it's been losing market share, with a bunch of new competitors like Amazon and YouTube Music. And with Apple stepping up their game, they can no longer take their place at the top of the music streaming game for granted. And of course, on top of this, their public image has been completely eviscerated, which is why I think they're making all of these changes and improvements. With all of the massive backlash they have gotten lately, they want to try to save face and keep up with their competitors. Clearly, it's working to some extent, with people being very excited about the new feature to mix your playlists, but if things continue the way they have been, I can see a future where other streaming services swiftly overtake the once dominant Spotify. If you like this video, you might like my video about Jay-Z.
They definitely already have taken over, like, or gone miles ahead from Spotify. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that, you know, a lot of the other music companies and music streaming platforms have in common. And some of them offer, like, nice benefits. Like, Apple Music offers, like, the lossless quality, which is, like, super high quality, high-end music. For basically like the same amount of amount of data that you're using on a regular, you know, a lot of this stuff is like super competitive now, and it's like the Netflix thing, you know. It's crazy to see what this AI like just turned into, bro. Like, this AI revolution has just turned into, like, there has been a new AI robot that has come out, which is, I guess, responsible for like powering your home or like taking care of your house in a sense. Bro, look at this freaking machine, bro. This is insane right now. Introducing Neo. So this Neo robot has been like making the rounds online because it's like the first fully AI powered robot that can help you with chores around the house. And I'm going to be honest, bro, this is getting way scarier than it should be getting. I mean, the robot is still, like, extremely expensive. But just, like, the fact that this is really, like, happening right now in 2025 is insane, bro. Like, this is literally what the movies are warning us about. Like, bro, look at this thing, bro. What is that? Bro, I would feel so alarmed if something like that was in my house. Not that I can afford it, bro. But can you fuck it? You are asking a valid question. I'm just kidding. Bro, I don't know, man. I don't know what this stuff is designed to do, bro. Maybe. I don't know if it has that functionality, bro. But pause, bro.
Right there.
It's just insane, bro. Look at that.
Perfect.
look at this shit, bruh. That's some dystopian ass. That's some dystopian ass shit, bruh. Is this seriously what's happening right now? Like, I don't know. I just can't wrap my head around it, bro. It just freaks me out a little bit. Just knowing that this is what's happening right now.
My name is Bernd, and today we're launching Neo.
These are the creators, 1X? They're the creators of this Neo, the home robot?
Our humanoid for the home.
Neo, the robot, Nini.
Let you live with it.
Yeah.
You just not telling me? Well, what does it do?
Like my chores. I just leave and I come back and they're all done.
Are you kidding me?
No.
This is pretty... Bro, I'm saying, bro, this is insane what's happening right now. I mean, the fact that it's able to, like, do house chores is insane, though. Like, that's not a feat to be, like, taken lightly. Like, they've obviously worked hard on this technology. I'm just so paranoid and skeptical.
This all started a decade ago, working really hard on making what is Neo a reality. But to me personally, this started when I was like 10 years old. I grew up reading these beautiful books and watching these beautiful sci-fi movies where the future was all about how
Shout out to this dude, bro.
as humans, we really focus on the things that matter to us. You know, Rosie the robot would be ensuring family had time, or Data would help humanity explore the galaxy. And I really hope that when you get your Neo now, we can help give you back some of that time, so you can really spend it on what you feel is very meaningful to you.
Ain't no sunshine when she's gone.
Chat, be honest. Y'all trust this dude?
That time.
I don't know. I don't know, man. 2001 Space Odyssey tried to tell y'all, man. Bro, this is literally what's gonna happen, bro. Just this scene is like replaying in my head as this scene is going on right now. Just look, bro. This is from a movie that came out in 1960 something, bro. You're making it look like a good deal, though. I mean, glory's in the eye of the beholder, man. You know, to each his own. I just don't know, though. This is what I imagine.
Doors, please, Hal.
This is what I imagine when I think about this.
Hello, Hal, do you read me? Hello, Hal, do you read me? Do you read me, Hal? Do you read me, Hal? Hello, Hal, do you read me? Hello, Hal, do you read me? Do you read me, Hal?
Affirmative, Dave. I read you.
Open the pod bay doors, Hal.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
What's the problem?
I think you know what the problem is just as well as I do.
What are you talking about, Hal?
This mission is too important for me to allow you to jeopardize it.
I don't know what you're talking about, Hal.
I know that you and Frank were planning to disconnect me, and I'm afraid that's something I cannot allow to happen.
Where the hell did you get that idea, Hal?
Dave, although you took very thorough precautions in the pod against my hearing you, I could see your lips move.
Anyways, man, that's what I think of. That's literally what I think of when I think about this stuff, bro. But I'm sure that can't happen. That there's not a possibility though. But I mean, it's a cool robot though. Like not to shit on like their whole thing. It's just like so new and so, I don't know. It just feels so early into like the thing, bro. The Neo robot is a 20,000. This reminds me of the game Portal. What the game Portal? What that is, twin? Put a brother on. Put a brother on. The game Portal? Is that like a game of portals of some sort? Games Portal? I'm not too sure what that is, but it does remind me of some crazy, scary AI stuff. It's just insane how quick this is moving, bro. Like, it's literally here. This is literally what's gonna take over the rest of civilization in a few years. I don't know, man. I've just seen too many bad AI gone wrong movies to like sort of justify this in my head. It just seems very, very weird to me. I don't know. I just don't have. The game's name is Portal. Is it this game? Portal series. I want to see the trailer.
Enrichment Center. Let's look at some of the challenges. Welcome to the Aperture Science Enrichment Center. Let's look at some of the challenges you'll face as a test participant.
People did say there would be flying cars in 2020 though. We ain't get the flying cars yet, but at least we got a talking robot that can do your chores for you. And he's coincidentally built like a human being.
You may be required to perform simple tasks such as locating an exit. These simple tasks may be supplemented with insurmountable obstacles. Thanks to the Aperture Science handheld portal device, the impossible is easy. Let's look at a real-world example.
Whoa.
Certain objects may be vital to your success. If at first you don't succeed, you fail, and the test will be terminated. When stuck, remember our motto.
This looks like a very fun game.
In the sky, through which things can fly.
Oh shit. Oh no.
At the Enrichment Center, we believe that a highly motivated test subject can carry out rather complex tasks while enduring the most intense pain. So in case you don't make it through the testing, goodbye.
Yeah.
This next test is impossible.
I mean, the more you go on, like,
Now you're thinking with portals.
that looks pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie, that looks really freaking cool. It does remind, the AI voice does remind me of Portal. But that's actually insane, bro. But just in like all honesty, like the whole Spotify situation with the AI artists and just like the competing streaming services also got me thinking of like the regular like streaming services that we all use, like Netflix, Amazon Prime, Apple TV. You know, there was a certain time where Netflix was like so popular, but it seems like that's sort of backfired with them in recent years, because Netflix has become sort of what, you know, cable TV has become. And we got a video here from Patrick CC that I want to check out, in terms of like just why people are pirating more movies and more TV shows rather than just, you know, buying these ridiculous prices for like these streaming services. And I want to check that out. I just want to see
if
what he's
buying
talking.
isn't own.
Hold on. New Patrick CC video.
If buying isn't
The
owning,
video is titled "Piracy is the Logical Solution."
then piracy isn't stealing, which is why piracy is no longer seen as digital theft reserved for risk takers and your plug who knew a sketchy website. Now it's easier and more convenient than ever. TV,
Facts.
movies, sports, live events, whatever you want for free. It's become so normalized that piracy sites are getting more yearly visits than every streaming service combined. But this makes sense when you consider that every facet of the entertainment industry has been destroyed by corporations. Even if you're not a sports fan, you will.
I'm telling you, bro, it's that corporate greed, man. Like that corporate greed that they just want to stuff more money in their pockets and find absolutely any way that they can undercut the client to make sure that they get more bucks for themselves. Shit is crazy.
Relate to this struggle because you need to see how insanely difficult it is just to watch a basketball game. I live in Oklahoma City and I really wanted to follow the Thunder and the entire Western Conference a couple years ago, so I bought NBA League Pass for $110 for the season. Silly me for thinking that one streaming service would have every game. League Pass only lets you watch games that are out of market, which meant I couldn't actually watch the Thunder games because I live in Oklahoma City and those rights belong to the FanDuel Sports Network. And if the game was nationally televised, that was exclusively broadcast on ESPN or TNT, which meant I needed a cable package or another app like Hulu Live or Sling just to catch the games literally happening in my city. As of right now, if you want to guarantee that you will be able to watch all of the NBA games in the US when they are actually happening live, you need to have ESPN, which requires you to have Hulu plus Live TV or YouTube TV or Sling Orange TV or with an upgraded cable package. Then you need Peacock, which is $11 per month. Then you need Prime Video, which is $9 per month, and ABC, which would come with your basic local cable subscription. The cheapest way to guarantee every game would be $66 in subscriptions and whatever your basic cable costs these days, which is on average about $25. So roughly $91 per month just to watch basketball, the cheapest. Now, me personally, I would never pirate anything. That is behavior I absolutely condemn. But I'm not surprised anyone who would do it when all you gotta do is go to one of the many widely available free websites, click the extremely clean and clear interface that says the exact game or event you are looking for, and just watch it for free. But honestly,
I mean, that's true, bro. Like, it's so easy to like just get away with it, bro. Like, to just like, you know, do it. I'm not saying I condone it. Hint, hint, wink, wink. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying I do that, but I could see how easy it is, you know, in terms of like people doing that particular thing, especially like just the type of like things that are online right now, bro, that are available to you. There's so many different things that you can, you know, just watch your favorite movie or your favorite series or your favorite sports game from. It's become more accessible in recent years, especially since like people are moving away more from like these ridiculous and too many streaming services and options, with too many options on different network sites. You know, it's too many shows that are just exclusively on this one streaming service, or the other, you know, shows on exclusively on one, just like streaming service. Like you just want to like watch it on like one entire full package, which like it's so easy to get that nowadays.
We should have seen this terrible streaming climate coming from a mile away, because as they say, nothing good lasts forever. And to understand why piracy is so rampant today, we have to understand this detailed list of problems that piracy solves. Netflix used to be $8 per month, and it had a deep catalog of some of the most popular shows ever.
Facts, bro. When Netflix was first coming up, bro, it had a lot of different titles, bro. Now it only has like trash. Like, nobody really, like, watches Netflix, really, bro. Because, like, I mean, there's still some good titles. But, like, just, like, the original, like, the OG titles, like, they're all removing it for, like, these stupid Netflix original stuff, bro. Which is, like, crazy to me, bro.
Made. The Office, Friends, Breaking Bad, Dexter, Family Guy, American Horror Story, Pretty Little Liars, Law and Order, and even some Disney and Pixar titles. They had the Harry Potter films, they had Star Wars, they had classic movies like Shawshank Redemption, The Godfather, The Dark Knight. They even had Marvel titles before Disney Plus launched. It felt limitless, like the entire entertainment industry was in one app for the price of a fast food meal. Today, $8.99 gets you 9,000 shows you will never watch, and that's with ads. And if you don't want ads, no problem. That's $25 a month. Plus, every studio with a morsel of valuable IP decided to make their own.
Bro, look at all these different options, bro. Nobody's buying this, bro. I mean, obviously, if you want to support, like, the companies, I guess, you're gonna. But, like, that's too many options, and they all have, like, their own exclusive titles that they show on their network only. And it's just like so many like different streaming services. At the end of the day, like it all adds up over time, which is insane.
App. So instead of one library, you get 10 half libraries, each charging you separately. HBO Max, $21 a month. Hulu and Disney Plus, $19 a month. Peacock, $17. Apple TV Plus, Paramount Plus, Discovery Plus, Stars Play, BritBox, and niche ones like Shudder, Crunchyroll, Acorn TV all jumped into the fight, each charging $4 to $20 a month. I sometimes have this thought man, I wish I could just pay one price for all of the streaming services grouped together. And then I realized that's kind of what cable was. But streaming was supposed to be the solution to cable's outlandish prices and bloated packages, and yet they are slowly turning into the very thing they sought to destroy. Check out this old residential cable service price sheet from 1993. Just your basic news and weather channels was the same cost as Netflix when they first launched. Adding just 2 or 3 premium channels like the Disney Channel takes the price from $8 to $20 to $27 per month. This is actually insanely expensive for the 90s, especially when you consider that you did not get to choose what content to watch or when you could watch it. And of course, you still had commercials. Streaming solved all of these problems, but in 2025, almost all of these problems are back. I recently wanted to watch The Founder after doing research for my fast food video, but Netflix would not allow me to watch it since I pay for the cheapest version of Netflix that has ads. I was annoyed, but I thought maybe it had something to do with McDonald's having some sort of strict licensing issue that forced Netflix to lock it behind the premium tier, but it turns out there are 138 movies and TV series blocked on Netflix advertising tier. For $8 per month, you cannot watch Spider-Man, White Chicks, Boys in the Hood, or even the Garfield movie. Half the time, you don't even know whether something isn't available or not because of licensing contracts, region restrictions, or just because you're on the wrong subscription plan. The end result feels exactly like cable again, paying more money just to unlock what you thought you were already paying.
Which is a pretty, bro, that's so shit. I remember like back in the day when Netflix was first coming up, you pay for like a premium plan, and the only real difference is just like the amount of screens you can, view your TV series or your movie from at the time. So if you pay for like, just like a standard plan, you can only view it for like 1 screen or 2 screens max. And then if you pay for like a premium or a pro, I don't know what the terms, I can't remember the terms, but if you pay for that, like you can view it for like 4 screens at the same time, which was only like the huge difference. Now they're actually like changing it up, like depending on what plan you have, certain movies are going to be restricted, which is actually insane to me. That's just like true daylight robbery in my eyes.
paying for, thus making piracy the logical solution. You can go to these super cool websites that I never endorse because that is wrong and immoral, and just search basically any movie and get a high definition download. However, cable being much more expensive actually did have a slight benefit that nobody realized at the time. The competition for ratings meant that the shows that survived were usually the best of the best. Every network was fighting for limited primetime slots, and if a show could not pull in millions of viewers week after week, it was canceled. There was no filler at primetime. Seinfeld, Friends, The Simpsons, The X-Files, Sex and the City,
bro.
Buffy the Vampire.
That makes a lot of sense, bro. Like, now that I'm thinking about it, bro. Like, back in the day, like, especially like if you were like on like at the most popular viewing times, especially on like just regular TV, you had to make sure that your TV was staying on the air, bro. Like, you cannot come with the bad stuff, bro. And that's the problem with streaming services nowadays. A lot of the streaming services have become like very complacent with the type of content that they're putting out, because they know a lot of the people aren't really that invested, because you know it's just like you're just scrolling through Netflix, you know, searching for that next movie. It doesn't matter whether it's like a lot of filler or not. You know, at the end of the day, it's just like something to put out. It's just like content to pump out at the end of the day, which, you know, it's just that it goes back to like that corporate like quantity over quality, you know, essentially, and that just kills like the whole momentum drive and the reason for people to return to your show after they've watched it. Like, as soon as you watch like a Netflix original nowadays, I'd say 9 times out of 10 you're not returning back to that, unless it's like a really good show, but most of the times it just does not live up to that quality, you know, just like to consistently return to that, you know, it just takes a certain level of caliber of show to like sort of make you want to rewatch it again and again.
Slayer, The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I could go on and on. Networks weren't pumping out hundreds of new series every year just to fill catalog space. They were making sure the few shows they produced had the writing, acting, and budgets to succeed. And to no surprise at all, these old shows are still dominating streaming services today. In 2022, Seinfeld racked up 19.3 billion viewing minutes on Netflix, making it the 10th most watched show of that year. Compare that to one of their most popular originals, Wednesday, which was everywhere in 2022. Viral on TikTok, Jenna Ortega was launched into A-list fame. It was damn near a monoculture moment, yet it still drew fewer minutes than Seinfeld, a 30-year-old sitcom. Shows like The Umbrella Academy and The Rings of Power pulled in about half the audience of Seinfeld. Cable forced networks to compete for your attention in a way that streaming doesn't. And to take that one step further, today shows and movies are literally designed knowing that people are not all the way paying attention to them. Netflix has linked.
That's also what I'm saying, bro. They're filling up the catalogs with these filler ass shows, bro. Knowing that people won't fully pay attention to the stuff, like, it's insane. But it's insane, like what TikTok and like the real culture has done to like just the human brain. Like, you know, a lot of people are not sitting down to watch that full length movie, bro, when they could rather just scroll on TikTok and just, you know, get that dopamine hit in like 20 seconds as opposed to like sitting and watching a TV show for like 20 minutes, you know, just for taking example, you know. It's insane, bro.
Into what's called the second screen era, where they assume that most viewers... Netflix has leaned into what's called the second screen era, where they assume that most viewers are watching TV while scrolling.
My mic is echoing a bit? Oh, shit. Bro, thank you for letting me know. Da-da-da, how does that sound? Just tell me when it sounds better, yo. Tell me when it sounds better. Tell me when it sounds better. I don't know if it's like the delay or something like that that's causing it. Just double check the settings real quick. Alright. I don't know know if that sounds a little bit better or if it still sounds like bad, essential. How does that sound, bro? Does that sound better? Hear that? Not sure. Still echoing, still echoing. Alright, let me do a little surgery right quick. Do a little surgery. Does that sound better, or can you hear me now? Can you hear me? I don't know if that sounds a little bit better or not. Still the same. Oh my god, we're experiencing some technical difficulties here, y'all. My bad, bro. My bad. My bad, chat. How does that sound? Does that sound a little bit better? Oh, I'm so sorry about this, bro. See what they say. My bad, chat. He's experiencing some whole lot of technical difficulties right now. Technical difficulties, technical, bepical, sapido, iridi, avidi, boobidi, ba, biggity, boppity, flappity, lockety, put 'em in a lockjaw. That's really, I got pulled over by a cop car. The cop car was better than the knockjaw. They call me General Lockjaw 'cause I got that lockjaw pause. And you know we bout to get it, hit it, quit it. Okay, stop that. Let me stop. Thank you, buddy. So it's a little bit better now? A little bit better? All right. Let's get back to the video real quick.
Their phones.
My bad, Chad. We was experiencing a little bit of technicals right there. I was fucking up my whole shit.
Today, shows and movies are literally designed knowing that people are not all the way paying attention to them. Netflix has leaned into what's called the second screen era, where they assume that most viewers are watching TV while scrolling their phones, cooking, or doing laundry. Hollywood writer, director, and producer Justine Bateman said, "I've heard from showrunners who are given notes from the streamers that this isn't second screen enough," which begs the question, why would someone give all of their attention to something that is only designed to be consumed with half of their attention? According to reports, Netflix execs are urging screenwriters to have characters announce their actions out loud so that viewers can follow along without looking at the screen. For example, "We spent a day together," Lohan tells her.
According to reports, Netflix execs are using or urging screenwriters to have characters announce their actions out loud, presumably for the benefit of viewers who are too busy doom scrolling or folding laundry to actually watch the show they queued up. That's insane.
Follow along without looking at the screen. For example, "We spent a day together," Lohan tells her lover James in Irish Wish. "I admit it was a beautiful day filled with dramatic vistas and romantic rain, but that doesn't give you the right to question my life choices. Tomorrow I'm marrying Paul Kennedy." "Fine," he responds. "That will be the last you see of me because after this job is over, I'm off to Bolivia to photograph an endangered tree lizard." This kind of
my god, they doing the anime tactic, bro. I always hate when they over-explain in like animes, bro. When you over-explain a character's like power or like thought, it just becomes so annoying to me. I don't know. It just shouts lazy writing.
Over-explaining feels completely unnatural, and real people don't talk like this. It makes what should feel cinematic like a boring audiobook. And look, I'm all for casual viewing. I know a ton of my audience casually watches my videos while doing other things. But also, I make low-budget YouTube videos that are free to watch, not multi-million-dollar films behind a paywall. I don't know about you, but when I watch a movie, I like to pay attention. By training viewers to expect content that doesn't demand their full attention, Netflix is creating an audience that's even less likely to pay attention. And the less they pay attention, the less they care about quality. And as long as they feel just entertained enough, means they likely won't cancel their subscription. It's almost like they are conditioning the perfect audience who will barely pay attention to their content or their credit card bill so they can increase prices while lowering the quality for an audience who doesn't even notice. In the cable era, a show needed to be excellent to survive. Well, not forever actually. This started to die in the 2000s. Once cable became the dominant form of television in America, the few companies at the top could now take advantage of their market dominance. Cable prices climbed 40% in just 6 years, jumping from about $34 in 2000 to $47 in 2006. Meanwhile, inflation only rose 14.3% in that same period. Cable companies such as Comcast, Spectrum, Dish, DirecTV, and Cox started bundling networks into giant packages with hundreds, sometimes thousands of channels. If you wanted to watch ESPN, you were forced to also buy Lifetime, QVC, the Golf Channel, MTV3, and whatever else they decided to shove into the bundle. You weren't allowed to just pick the 5 or 6 channels that you actually watched. And now, streaming companies are doing a similar tactic. They flood their platforms with new shows and movies you will never watch because adding volume creates the illusion of value, justifying their increase.
That's what I'm saying, bro. Like, quantity over quality, essentially, is what's happening and dominating the fields right now.
Price. Netflix alone released 589 new Netflix originals in 2024, just slightly over its 2023 total of 568. There can't possibly be nearly 600 new shows and movies worth watching every year, but it's all part of the bigger plan. Every year, Netflix originals slowly take up more of their catalog, and then they license less. In 2022, over 50% of their catalog was originals. Now, some of these originals are good. Ozark, Queen's Gambit, Beef are just a few off the top of my head, but the rest are mostly filler. They are watering down their product to save money instead of purchasing valuable shows, because licensing the movies and TV shows you actually want to watch cost a fortune. In 2019, Netflix lost both Friends and The Office, two classic, reliable sitcoms that were some of the most watched shows on their platform, after Warner Media and NBC pulled the rights for their own services. To fill that gap, Netflix struck a massive deal to acquire Seinfeld, reportedly paying over $500 million for global streaming rights, and that's only for 5 years. So they would have to spend another fortune to keep the show. And this is the cycle we're stuck in now. Streamers don't want to pay billions to keep the classics that people actually want to watch, so they crank out repetitive, boring, low-budget originals that are literally designed for you to halfway pay attention to. Then they slowly raise the monthly price because look at all this new, fresh, original content we're giving you. And users have been conditioned to only watch casually anyways, so they barely notice the dip in quality. Plus, that's only one streaming service. Every company with a little bit of valuable IP started their own app, and they're doing the same exact system. So now if you want a library of great shows and movies, you need to subscribe to multiple services. The average household actively uses around 4 streaming apps, and 8% even access 10 or more. That equals about $69 per month, which is just about the same price that cable was in the early 2010s when everyone jumped to streaming. Piracy is the solution to all of these problems. Piracy reached a low in 2020 with 130 billion website visits, which by the way is still a ton. But by 2024, that number had risen to 216 billion. And it's actually incredibly simple as to why. Gabe Newell, the founder of the online video game marketplace Steam, summarized this perfectly nearly a decade ago. We think there is a fundamental misconception about piracy. Piracy is almost always a service product problem and not a pricing problem. If a pirate offers a product anywhere in the world, 24/7, purchasable from the convenience of your personal computer, and the legal provider says that the product is region locked, will come to your country 3 months after the US release, and can only be purchased at a brick and mortar store, then the pirate service is more valuable. In short, convenience is key, and people are willing to pay, but why are they making it so complicated? The music industry got it right for the consumer. They created something so simple that it wasn't even necessary to pirate music anymore. At its peak, Napster had nearly 80 million registered users downloading and sharing music for free. By the mid-2000s, sites like LimeWire and BitTorrent were handling billions of illegal downloads every year. Year over year, music revenue sales were dropping, and the music industry executives were convinced it was because of piracy. That's when Spotify, Apple Music, and other music streaming services came around to essentially make the Netflix of music. However, these services are better because there is no exclusivity. No matter what service you pay for, you will have access to basically the same exact music as any other platform. One monthly price and nearly every song and album ever made. Now, this isn't necessarily all good. This has devalued music incredibly, and artists get fractions of a penny per stream, but unfortunately, the customer doesn't care because the service is better for them. But we might be at a tipping point with music streaming services because Spotify is seemingly taking a page out of Netflix playbook and prioritizing their own music over licensed music, but the problem is it's AI generated. But that's a whole different video. Compared to now, it seems like in the early 2010s, streaming services had it right. All they had to do was not change. Piracy was at an all-time low in the early 2010s because it was safer, easier, and not a financial burden to just pay for the content you wanted to watch. Now, there are always going to be people who simply don't want to or can't pay. This is extremely common with pay-per-view events. For many years, Dana White and the UFC waged war against sites like Crackstreams, trying to convince everyone that he would get them shut down.
You kind of stirred the pot a little bit with the piracy, the online streamers. They want to come after you and give this thing away. So, any regret? It kind of maybe stirring the pot a little bit.
I'm glad you asked me about that because we got one. We got him.
We got him.
We're watching this guy right now. All you have to do is turn it on Saturday, and we got you. I can't wait. Turn it on Saturday, streamers, and see what happens.
Nothing happened. 4 years later, and you could watch any UFC fight crystal clear HD on a handful of different free streaming sites. Dana eventually realized he was losing the battle with illegal pay-per-view streamers, and to everyone's surprise, he actually made a deal that benefits the consumer now. In 2026, all UFC events will air exclusively on Paramount networks in the United States. That means 13 marquee numbered events and 30 fight nights will air via Paramount Plus. For $13 per month, you can get all the UFC events and all of Paramount's content ad-free. This is actually a monumental shift. For the first time ever, fans will have access to the fights at the lowest cost in history. But it's not all positive. Some suspect that this is the beginning of the UFC resorting to basically all the exact issues I have already raised with streaming services. Once the UFC moves fully to a streaming platform, they've got your money locked in, whether the card is stacked with superstars or filled with nobodies. That pressure to deliver massive must-see events disappears overnight. And honestly, that's already been happening in the past couple years. The storytelling is basically non-existent, cards are bloated with fighters nobody cares about, their upcoming talent pool is getting less impressive and exciting, but now the cost of 13 marquee events is roughly the same price as one pay-per-view. So as long as you get one good card per year, it's technically worth the subscription. They quite literally just cheapened their product, so we should expect the quality to decrease even more. Also, fighters have traditionally been paid based on pay-per-view points, meaning if the card sold well, they got paid well. Once that model disappears, the UFC has to raise base pay for their top stars just to keep them happy. That makes those stars more expensive to book, so to save money, the UFC will inevitably have them fight less. Fewer high-profile matchups, more watered-down fight nights, and a whole lot of filler. Fans will pay less, but they also will get less. All of these companies across the entire entertainment industry, besides music, kinda, have overcomplicated their model of delivering content to customers for the sole purpose of squeezing every last dollar out of the end user. I believe most people are good people, and I don't think anyone expects to get quality entertainment for free. We were in a good sweet spot in the 2010s, but greed ruined it. Now the costs are higher, the content is worse, and the convenience is gone. I've canceled nearly all of my subscriptions or reduced to just the ad tier because I just don't watch as much. And I know I'm not alone. When the system no longer respects the consumer finds another way. That's why piracy doesn't feel like stealing anymore. It feels like the logical solution.
I mean, that's true, bro. Like, just the simple greed of people, just like, for taking a pretty good, nice product and just turning that into something that, just ends up, just ruining the whole thing. It just becomes very bloated. And the market just comes oversaturated with like a lot of these streaming platforms that clearly only want your money, bro. And like Patrick CC said, like the product at the end of the day just becomes very watered down, to the point where a lot of people won't actually be paying attention to it. It just becomes something that people don't care about, and something that just becomes, I would say, sort of more of a hazard than anything else, and that just is what it is. You can't really like control it. I mean, I'm sure back in the days there was a lot more like friendliness to it, but since the market has become so bloated and overgeneralized, it's just become somewhat of a very unfriendly market that just becomes like super overcrowded in the competitive space, and there's really nothing you can do about it. It just becomes like super clouded, and that's just the whole thing. And I feel like that's like the big problem with like streaming companies nowadays, especially like in the visual department. You sort of expect them to like sort of bring the quality, but at the end of the day it just becomes like a numbers game. It just becomes something that people essentially don't care about, and that just it's just kind of sad to see at the end of the day. Like, you really want that quality, but for the price that we pay, it just becomes more likely and inevitable that companies moving towards the space where the content gets lowered, the bar gets set lower, and it just becomes, at the end of the day, it just becomes who pumps out the most numbers. I don't think it's a money problem. I feel like these corporate companies dump enough money into like the titles, but there were a lot of good points raised in that. It's not. It's also like just like the general overall landscape, like culturally, like I say, a lot of the directors are saying with these titles that the actors physically have to read out their lines, and if they don't, it just becomes not second screen enough, and that automatically like lowers like the chance that that show would get pushed or promoted by a Netflix or an Apple Music. But it also like lowers the quality in writing, lowers the quality in content, and just makes it feel very watered down, very generic, very bland. It just doesn't sound proper, and that's something that's very awful, in today's world. I mean, there's still good shows being made and promoted. Like, I'm not saying like it's all bad. I'm just saying I don't think it's gonna necessarily live up to like all the legendary titles that we had, like The Office, a lot of like the good, timeless classics, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, a lot of the stuff like that we used to grow up like watching as kids, Friends, all these good timeless classics. You just don't see that a lot nowadays. And there's a reason why these good classics have been so everlasting, just because they were quality at the end of the day. Like, yes, Big Bang Theory may have had a few seasons too many, but I still consider it one of the greatest shows ever made, bro. And that's one of like the few semi-modern shows that just became like a classic, or like a cult classic. Big Bang Theory will always have like its core fan base, and people who support it, you know. And you can't really blame it, can't really make it up, you know. It is what it is. You know, at the end of the day, like, you can't really expect things, you know, to stay the same, you know, as they've always stayed. Stuff changes, you know, minds change, especially like from like the pandemic stage. Like, a lot of people were like stuck inside, you know, watching stuff. So I guess from there on out, like, the companies sort of had to change like their model and behavior, because a lot of the stuff like revolves around TikTok right now, and that's how you can get your name out properly, and like your name out onto the system. It's just pumping that algorithm full of numbers and just saturating the market. At the end of the day, that's the only way you're probably gonna get seen. You know, reposting a TikTok like 5 million times in order to get like a little bit of clout. Not saying that that's a bad thing. Like, everybody's gotta grind and do their thing. Everybody's gotta grind and get their hustle. But, you know, I just don't know. I don't know where it's headed. You know, I can't really tell. All I can say is, I just feel like it just doesn't feel very safe. There's a lot of jobs that are being threatened by this. I saw that there was a few Amazon layoffs like a few days ago. Massive Amazon layoffs sparked criticism, debate over culture and HR accountability. Why is Amazon laying off employees? The layoffs affect various units, including HR and cloud computing, are a cost-cutting measure in an effort to reduce bureaucracy. So in that effort to sort of like reduce bureaucracy, I'd say that might be an effort to like sort of lower the cost of having human employees, and just understanding that, you know, it's moving towards that AI revolution where a lot of these bigger companies, you know, they cut like 14,000 jobs. A lot of these bigger companies are actually, you know, laying off like a lot of their human staff. That sort of, I mean, in a lot of sense, it just makes it understandably for them, from just like a clear like numbers point, it just makes sense for them to do that. Because Amazon is like a huge company. Like, it has not billions. It has millions of hundreds and thousands of employees even. I mean, some say it's 2% of like the entire staff force. Some say it's 7%. But the company is slowing down their hiring. They typically don't need as many people that are responsible for their hiring. Yeah, and that's kind of scary. Like, a lot of the human aspect of hiring an employee is just getting taken over by just an AI system that, you know, that revolves around that. You know, it becomes very tricky and very scary in the modern landscape, with like the amount of stuff that's happening right now. But to move on further, we have a video from one of my favorites, Thomas Flight. Why AI art feels so wrong. I always enjoy a good Thomas Flight video. He's one of my favorite like art, I'd say like cinema critiques or like cinema YouTubers. I really enjoy his art. So let's see what Thomas Flight has to say. Why AI art feels so wrong. Let's lock in and see what he says.
It's what we've decided to call the countless AI-generated images and videos that have started to flood the internet. And it's pretty easy to disregard most of the slop we encounter as annoying, cringe, mildly amusing, or fairly inconsequential. But the same force driving the creation of slop is encroaching on cultural, artistic spaces like film and animation. When I encounter AI-generated images or videos, I don't know about you, but I get a very strange feeling. I have a kind of gut reaction that something is wrong with these images. There is part of me that is skeptical of this gut reaction. Am I falling into a trap that so many generations have fallen into before me? Am I, as the proponents of AI might suggest, just reflexively rejecting the next logical step in technological advancement because it represents an uncomfortable change? Am I merely repeating the pattern started by Plato when he critiqued the development of writing?
We all consuming that stuff, man. AI slop.
By arguing that it would cause humans to cease remembering? Or does my gut feeling that something is wrong about art generated by AI speak to something deeper and true? Does it reveal something about what art is for us as humans, and that whatever art is, trying to generate it using AI violates that thing in some way?
Just another tool.
This is Tilly Norwood, an AI actress created by Particle 6, a UK-based company that bills themselves as Europe's leading up-and-coming AI production studio. Tilly caused an immediate, strong backlash from many in Hollywood, actors frustrated at the idea of being replaced in an already competitive industry, with some seeing the artifice of Tilly as unsettling on a deeper level. Emily Blunt reacted to Tilly by saying, please stop taking away our human connection." Even if the technology is not yet developed enough for Tilly to show up in the next season of House of Dragon, it's pretty clear that some in Hollywood are not opposed to the creeping advance of AI. Some talent agencies have reportedly been circling Tilly. Ridley Scott has said he's trying to embrace AI, and Blumhouse's Jason Blum argued in reaction to Tilly Norwood that AI is here to stay, whether we like it or not, and that Hollywood shouldn't stick its head in the sand, but should instead embrace AI, as long as it can be done ethically and legally, he made sure to clarify. Ashton Kutcher called AI an amazing tool that we should learn to work with. And this is the most common refrain in support of...
I mean, that is true. Like, it is a very amazing tool if you use it correctly. But I also feel like the ethical and moral implications is also a huge factor to, like, sort of keep it under control. But I feel like inevitably, as human nature is to do, we always will push the boundary of something that we don't really fully understand. So it's either it can be a good thing, but it can also be a sort of a double-edged sword at the end of the day.
Of using AI in art, that it's just another tool, that rejecting AI would be like rejecting digital cameras.
Oh my god, my shit freezing right now. What the hell?
Or computer animation in film. And it's this argument that the creators of Tilly use in their response to the backlash. I see AI not as a replacement for people, but as a tool. She is not a replacement for a human being, but a creative work, a piece of art. But is Tilly art? Could Tilly really be used to create art? Is AI just another paintbrush we can use to put strokes on the canvas, or is it something else? There are many potential reasons to be critical of AI. Environmental concerns, legal and ethical concerns, even mental health concerns. And while I'm worried about many of these, my goal here is not to address the entire complex issue that is AI as a whole. I'm going to focus on one small piece of this puzzle, the relationship between AI and art. I'm focusing on AI and art because I think this debate forces us to clarify our human relationship to this technology, and it's part of the discussion that is important to me. But we can't understand if AI can be a tool that artists can use, if it's something we should totally reject, or some balance in between, if we don't understand what art is and what its purpose is for humanity and society in the first place. In Cave of Forgotten Dreams, director Werner Herzog takes us into the Chauvet Cave in France to see the oldest paintings ever discovered. J.F. Martel, writing about the film in his book Reclaiming Art in the Age of Artifice, says, "In the images this prehistoric people have bequeathed to us, we get a glimpse of something like a shared humanity, but we also gaze into a stranger part of ourselves, something reaching to the depths." Seeing works of art made some 30,000 years ago, there is a striking sense of familiarity. There's something in the very activity of creating art that feels instantly recognizably human. An impulse which remains within us despite such a vast passing of time and how much society has changed across that span. What we find looking at this art is the mystery of who these people painting these images were and why they painted them. It's as if we discovered signs of alien life only to realize the aliens are us, that our own existence is just as mysterious and startling as anything else in the cosmos. Even if we cannot know what these cave paintings mean, there is a profound and moving mystery in the question of their meaning itself. These images don't just represent the existence of something or someone, but a self-awareness of that existence. The existence of the art in the cave is existence expressing itself for others to see and hear. What we don't often think about is that despite how much art has changed, despite all the technological advancement and scientific knowledge we've acquired since these cave painters first did their work, we are still caught in this mystery today. Art for us is still mysterious, and true works of art still express the mystery of life itself. According to Martel, art demands that we feel and think the mystery of our passage through this body on this earth in this universe, and bears witness to the bafflement that the mere fact of existence elicits in our brains. What is the impulse that connects the intricate carvings in Angkor Wat, these cave paintings, and the Sistine Chapel, with the mournful beauty of Debussy's Arabesque No. 1 or the hauntingly poetic images crafted by Andrei Tarkovsky in The Mirror? I see in all of them an attempt to express something the artist experienced, but struggled to quantify. An attempt to express a mysterious part of life that cannot be put into words. A desire to leave not just a mark on the world, but our mark. A mark that says something about who we are and our experience of life. Art is the thing that allows us to communicate about these mysteries, to share between two humans the unquantifiable aspects of our existence. OpenAI, the company behind ChatGPT, recently released Sora 2, an AI model that allows you to easily generate AI videos that sometimes look startlingly real. But it is also a platform that allows you to view an infinite stream of these artificially generated videos. Scrolling through Sora induces a kind of dizzying, uncanny feeling in me. There is, of course, something familiar about this. It looks at moments like I might be watching a TikTok or Instagram reel, but there is something alien and strange about it as well. At times it evokes a chuckle, more at the nihilistic absurdity of the thing itself than any given video or joke created by the platform. But the overwhelming feeling I get looking at Sora, other platforms that feature streams of AI-generated images, Tilly Norwood, or reading a poem generated by an LLM, is a strange sense of emptiness. There is, to me, a perceptible vacancy to the entire thing. While the occasional AI image might initially grab my eye, I'm not drawn in by the same curiosity I feel when a human work of art grabs my eye. I do not want more. I'm simply left asking, why does this exist? What is it for? You can ask an image model like Midjourney to generate a cave painting in the style of the Chauvet Cave, and you'll get something like this. Setting aside the fact that this obviously wasn't skillfully crafted onto the contours of rocks some 30,000 years ago, it would be easy to critique this image by pointing out which details it gets wrong, tallying up all the ways in which the AI images do not measure up to the original in terms of quality or style. But I think doing so would miss the point, because this image, even if it got the details right, would still be missing something that the original paintings have. But what exactly is missing? If this AI image isn't art, then what is it? What do we call it? To answer these questions, I'm going to draw on the distinction made by J.F. Martel between art and what he calls artifice. In our lives, even long before the advent of AI, we have been surrounded by and inundated with designs, photographs, paintings, illustrations, graphics, symbols, videos, animations, and other creative works. Within this huge landscape, we find the stuff we typically call art, but we also find the same skills and techniques that are used to create art, used to create a lot of stuff that is something else. Most of us would probably agree, for example, that Van Gogh's Starry Night is a work of art, but would probably not think of a stop sign or an event flyer as art in the same sense. Martel calls this other category of thing artifice. It's important to note that artifice itself is not bad. The distinction here is not a value judgment, and there is obviously artistic craft and skill involved in the design and creation of artifice. Intent, creativity, composition, color theory are all employed to create an effective road sign or event flyer. So this distinction is not about diminishing the talent that is often needed to create good artifice or the necessity of artifice within our society. Martel says, artifice forgoes the revelatory power that is art's prerogative in order to impart information, be it a message, an opinion, a judgment, a physiological stimulus, or a command. The distinction between art and artifice lies in the purpose they serve, both for the creator as a means of expression and to the viewer.
That's insane.
When I look at a work like Edward Hopper's Nighthawks, there is no obvious message or statement to be found. Instead, I find a strange sense of mystery, a weird juxtaposition of liminality, loneliness, and beauty that is hard to describe but which feels familiar to me. I get the same sense from Hopper's Morning Sun. Is this loneliness? Despair? Is the warmth of the sun about to awaken her from this melancholy, or is it somehow the cause of it, as if the warmth of its touch is making her long for something more? Is the emptiness on her face, which is reflected in the sparseness of the composition, connected to the industrial landscape that clouds her view from the window? Is Hopper suggesting that these emotions are the result of the modernist environment that was reaching maturity in the 1950s? I don't know, but he captures here in these paintings a feeling that I recognize. And in recognizing that feeling, I feel connected not just to the painting, but beyond that to the human expressing feelings through the painting. Now let's compare Morning Sun to these images created by Karl Lagerfeld for a 2010 campaign for the fashion brand Fendi. There's obviously a necessary level of artistic skill needed to craft and style these images, but unlike Hopper's original work, there is no mystery at their core. We do not need to wonder what the images are trying to express, what the model is feeling, or what emotion the photographer is trying to convey. We know the purpose of these images is to showcase the clothing, to get us to associate these clothes and the brand with the prestige of Hopper's art. The images are trying to get us to buy something. While I like these images, and I think Lagerfeld is obviously a talented photographer, Martel would argue, and I'd agree, that they are not art, but works of artifice. Artifice isn't made for the purpose of exploring some deep, mysterious feeling. Artifice might use or evoke feelings, but its ultimate purpose in using those feelings is to convey information or to get the viewer to do something, whether that's drink a Pepsi or yield to oncoming traffic. And doing this can be important. You don't want a stop sign to express the profound mysteries of the universe. You just want it to clearly and effectively convince the viewer to take an action. Authentic art, by contrast to artifice, takes us out of the realm of the utilitarian altogether. Instead of trying to get us to do something or convey information, according to Martel, art astonishes and is born of astonishment. Astonishment, he says, is the litmus test of art, the sign by which we know we have been magicked out of the practical and utilitarian enterprises to confront the bottomless dream of life in sensible form. In this view, art is made and exists simply as an expression of and way to encounter the mysteries of life. And the astonishment that defines art can come in the form of grand expressions of religious wonder or more subdued, subtle examinations of emotion. It can come in something as small as attention to the way light plays across curtains blowing in the wind, or the simple beauty of how objects and color dance together in a room. It can even show up in a self-aware study of the way large expanses of tone and the texture of brushstrokes can evoke certain emotional states. Martel explains that this astonishment comes not from transcending the uncanny strangeness and mystery of our everyday experience, but by awakening us to it. Astonishment is not necessarily a conscious end goal that the artist sets out to symbolize within the work. It is the driving motivation, something that comes through the process of creating art itself, which is revealed both consciously and unconsciously in the thousands of decisions made by the artist in the act of crafting a work. Each culture or individual has their own taste in what they value and a stylistic language that they use for expressing this astonishment. What astonishes one person or culture may confuse or bore another. But what all art has in common is this attempt at expressing our own astonishment at some aspect of existence itself. It can be astonishment in the face of profound joy, or the depth of agony that can exist in life, and everything in between. And while not every work of art will awaken this astonishment in every viewer, when art is serving its true purpose, astonishment is there. I don't know if the painters in the Chauvet cave were expressing a sense of wonder, fear, desire, worship, or celebration when they were depicting these animals that would have been their source of life. Perhaps what led them to create these images was the way all of those feelings about the subject coexisted inside of them. We can only speculate. What we do know is that there was something astonishing in these painters' experience that drove them to take time away from all the activities in their lives that served a more obvious survival function to engage in the act of expression. And whether or not we get our interpretation of their images right, much of the value we get out of the images themselves comes from trying to connect with what they were expressing. So what happens when we have an AI-generated image of a cave painting or any other kind of image that looks like art? It might be visually similar, just like the Fendi campaign bears a resemblance to the Hopper paintings. But as an image object, I would argue the AI-generated images do not carry the same expression of life that true works of art do. AI, unlike the cave painters and other artists, cannot express astonishment at some aspect of life through art because it is not itself experiencing that life. It is not feeling astonishment, which it can then translate into the artistic process. Anything it makes can only be an imitation of the end result of humans engaging with the artistic process. An imitation made with no understanding of what it is imitating or why. You can ask an AI to generate an image of what loneliness and alienation looked like in the 1950s. And you might even recognize and resonate in some way with how AI depicts those feelings. But these images are not an actual artifact that reflects the real human emotions that someone felt in 1950, while Edward Hopper's paintings are. And I think the extent to which we might connect with the emotion of an AI image is simply the extent to which we connect with its ability to imitate how human artists have already translated experiences into art. It can generate infinite variations of these imitations in every conceivable style, but it cannot add to the corpus of art something new, born out of a direct contact with experience. It does not have its own experience of loneliness to then express. And what draws me to a Hopper painting is not the content of the images themselves, not truly the end result, but what is behind them. A painting is not just graphic wallpaper meant to decorate a room or a museum. I don't look at his work to see a city street or a woman sitting in a bed. What draws me to Hopper is his perspective on these scenes, the way he captures certain feelings through how he constructs and paints the everyday. He saw the world in a certain way and expresses that perspective through his work, and his work connects me with another human's experience, while the artifice only connects me with the arbitrary elements of style that Harper may have used to communicate his experience. I believe much of what draws us to art is the artist's perspective, literally getting to see how their way of seeing the world gets encoded into their work. AI fundamentally does not have its own perspective on the world. There is no way of seeing that it can then encode in a work. At least in its current iteration, it can only produce imitation of existing perspectives. That might work for the creation of artifice, but I think it leaves out one of the most significant reasons we are drawn to art. The heart of this issue is not just found by evaluating the end results. It's also found by looking at how the works are made. The artifice of AI-generated images or text is baked into the very way it is created. Beyond conveying information and commands, Martel argues that artifice works in service of creating consensus. Consensus is the statistical world of useful knowledge, generalization, habit, custom, and ideology. Works of artifice reinforce consensus by representing reality as though everything had already been mapped out. The machine learning algorithms that generate text and images literally work by using statistical and mathematical analysis to try to create predictive data. An AI-generated work is not created using the artistic process, it's created by visualizing consensus found in data and information. AI uses this consensus to reverse engineer an image in order to meet the desire or expectations that we give it through the prompt. The AI is a visual expression of the very consensus that Martel argues is antithetical to art. So while we might use it to generate something new in the sense that it might be a particular arrangement of pixels or words that has never existed before, it seems to me that AI cannot be a means by which true astonishment and mystery are captured and transmitted, because true astonishment and mystery are not pieces of data or information. They are something much stranger, felt, and experienced. True art is the part of life that cannot be turned into data or information. That's the whole reason why we encode these things into poems, paintings, or songs in the first place, instead of just describing them using logic and reason. But why should we care so much about the distinction between art and artifice? If we lose sight of the dividing line, we risk becoming victims to two unfortunate misunderstandings. First, we might treat works of art as artifice and lose out on allowing ourselves to experience the astonishment and connection that authentic art has to offer. Or we treat works of artifice as works of art and leave ourselves vulnerable and exposed to the ways artifice is trying to influence our thinking and behavior. Our society is currently in the grips of both of these misunderstandings. Beyond the ways we're manipulated by advertising, we fall prey to all manner of propaganda, and we simultaneously devalue the power of art by frequently asserting that everything is artifice, that there is no room for something greater that can truly move us profoundly. Martel argues that in our modern world, we are often closed off to allowing the forces of art to profoundly affect us as a defense mechanism against the manipulative power of all the artifice that surrounds us. But this very guardedness that we use to protect our mental health in such an artifice-saturated world has turned into an apathy towards art, something we need to thrive and connect as humans. We put on ironic detachment and see being unaffected by authentic expression as cool, while we view those who are moved by something as weak. Sentimental and romantic become insults. This jadedness has affected even the artists themselves, who often only engage with anything sincere through a layer of detachment or irony, not wanting to be seen as cliché or sentimental. The cost of all of this is high. Cynical artifice posing as art, concerned only with its own commercial viability or ability to persuade or influence people, and numbed out audiences unable to truly connect with the rare artists and works that do manage to get through the landscape of cynicism and exist as works of authentic art. I focused here mostly on images generated entirely by AI. But what if AI was just one small tool used in the process of making a larger work of art? This is, at least currently, the question that faces most filmmakers. I don't think any small piece of artifice within the larger work necessarily corrupts the entire thing. I don't personally think that just because a small amount of AI was used on part of Adrian Brody's performance in The Brutalist, that we should treat the entire film as if it has no artistic merit and that it should be called artifice. There seems to me an obvious gap between that and Tilly Norwood becoming a reality. And perhaps, as
What we got going on here?
Jason Blum suggests, if we can iron out the
Oh my god, my shit freezing.
Perhaps, as Jason Blum suggests, if we can iron out the ethical and legal issues with AI tools, we might be able to use them as a tool in our toolbox, in the same way that CGI and digital cameras are used. But I think we should be very hesitant to do so. Because what makes art a work of art is not just the end result, but the process we use to get there. True expression in art emerges from every tiny choice made in the process of bringing that art into reality as a representation of our experience and perspective on life. The artistic process is something both conscious and unconscious that reveals itself through each brushstroke, through accidents and how we respond to them, through collaborative decisions made by humans, through the way the environment we make the art within subtly influences each choice in the process. Each decision or accident we make in the process of creating art is an opportunity for meaning, perspective, and experience to sneak into the work, even when we're not consciously planning for that to happen. Any aspect of the process that we use AI for then necessarily removes you from the process. But you and your perspective is the very source of what makes something art. The prompt is not a tool you use to express yourself through. It's a way of describing an outcome you want to achieve and having something else try to achieve that outcome for you. In the documentary series Mr. Scorsese, Leonardo DiCaprio shares a story from the making of The Aviator. In one scene, both he and Scorsese knew that something wasn't working about the performance. And Scorsese, after many takes, told him that, but did not want to tell him what to do to make it work. Because Scorsese knew it would be more valuable and more authentic in the performance if DiCaprio found what worked on his own. Scorsese did this because as an artist, he understands that the process matters. That even when working with a human, sometimes giving them an explicit outcome to work towards can be antithetical to the artistic process. If the essence of a work of art is often found in the very process of attempting to get to an outcome, AI disconnects us from that process. So if we want the machine to make our art for us, it strikes me that we may not understand the purpose of the art we're making, that the true value of that art is not a perfect outcome that we imagine AI will help us achieve, but the process we take to get to an outcome. And when we use AI, we risk undermining the very process that allows deeper meaning to emerge through our work. A typewriter might have made writing words more efficient, but it did not write the words for you. AI risks doing too much, and in that process, artistry loses out. If you want to make true art, rather than just artifice, I think you have to engage with the artistic process, not so that you end up with a perfect finished work at the end that makes the experience you're trying to express comprehensible, but in order to have a work that brings the audience along on your attempt to express the incomprehensible. This is why looking more closely at a work of art reveals deeper meaning, while looking closer at a work of artifice often reveals it to be less meaningful than it originally seemed. But I must admit, while I have not yet encountered an individual AI image that feels like a work of art to me, sometimes I do feel a kind of dreadful astonishment at what these images represent. If we peer into this endless hall of mirrors constructed by some of the largest corporations on Earth, which attempt to reflect everything we've ever created back at us and ask why, what do we see? When I look at it this way, I see a work that astonishes me with its absurdity, surrealism, emptiness, and glut. An attempt to create a work that encompasses everything humanity has created, while simultaneously trying to remove as much of ourselves from the creative process as we possibly can. I see humanity trying to abandon its own involvement in the act of creation, leaving itself with only its desires, its prompts, waiting to be filled with increasing accuracy, precision, and speed. And maybe this attempt reveals a hidden desire for self-negation. That perhaps our desire to remove ourselves from the creative process itself is born out of a belief that we are fundamentally flawed, that we must overcome those flaws by creating a machine that transcends our imperfect abilities, one that can infinitely meet our needs with the touch of a button without ourselves or another human being needing to be involved, that can put an end to the unbearable mystery of it all. But what if we have it backwards? What if our involvement in the process, as messy as that may be, is the very thing we desire and are trying to satisfy with this endless cascade of novelty, information, and increasing productivity? What if we are seeking a machine that can perfectly fill our prompts when what we truly desire is for ourselves to be prompted by an artistic vision, to care enough about something, an experience or perspective on the world, that we want to do the creative labor ourselves, to falter through the decisions and learning process, finding the expression of that astonishment in each brush stroke? What if what we want is an artistic project where no shortcut is fulfilling because the project is not a means to an end, but fulfilling as a process in and of itself, as a part of life, which is not a problem to be solved, but a mystery to be astonished by? Imagine with me that perhaps 30,000 years ago, the Chauvet cave painters finished their work, put down their torches and charcoal, gathered around the fire together afterwards, and one of them said, "Wouldn't it be great if we could create something that would do the painting for us so that we wouldn't have to do it?" It sounds absurd to us when we hear them say it, but in many ways, that's the world we're living in today. In the interview where Jason Blum said the industry needs to embrace AI, he also said, the consumer does not care if what they're looking at is AI. And at first I thought, he's obviously wrong. Some people like myself do care about whether or not what they're looking at is AI. But on closer examination, I think he's right. A consumer does not care about whether or not what they're looking at is AI. A consumer is just looking for whatever might be available to fill the craving they have in that moment, Whatever might draw them in, appease them, and amuse them will do the job. And there is certainly money to be made in giving consumers what they want. But we have to ask ourselves, are we just here to appease consumers and to consume, or do we want something more? Appeasing consumers is not the purpose of a work of art. If you are creating to appease or experiencing something for the sake of being appeased, you are within the realm of artifice. Art is not made for consumption, but for the sake of expression and connecting with yourself, others, and existence through that expression. While there is a place in this world for the creation and consumption of artifice, and that artifice can bring us a lot of joy and pleasure, if we lose sight of the special role that art can play in our lives, both as artists and audiences, I think we lose sight of a valuable part of being human that has been with us since the Chauvet cave. We cannot escape our desire for the connection provided by authentic art by getting better, faster, and more efficient at making artifice. Getting a clean shave is one of those things that always, to me, feels like a little bit of a risky endeavor.
Okay, we got the ads. But, I mean, I fully agree, bro. Like, AI can be used as, like, a good tool. A very great tool, in fact. But, at the end of the day, bro, like, you can't sacrifice the human aspect of it. Because human aspect is just, like, the reason why art exists, you know. And at the end of the day, you know, it can't be done the same, you know. It can come very close and it can be an exact copy, but it just can't replicate that emotional aspect and that perspective of a human being that we all, you know, truly and uniquely hold in each other. Anyways, we got the next video lined
In a
up.
world where your every move is documented.
The corniest rapper or the goatest rapper alive? Come on now. Play that new Dex. Am I right? Am I right? Alright, I'm not right. Whatever. But we got the corniest rapper alive. It's Dex. Let's see what it says. Shout out Lil Waster. I love his videos.
In a world where your every move is documented online, attempting to retain any kind of perfectly polished image is difficult to say the least, especially in an industry such as music, where your value isn't only counted in currency, but how cool you are believed to be by the masses. Within the social media dominated landscape,
Bro,
where
there's
everything
no
is
reason for this guy to be doing all this, bro.
Are believed to be by the masses. Within the social media dominated landscape where everything is filed for everyone to see, even some of the artists deemed to be the coolest in the world have slipped up too, sometimes literally. But how do you try to gather and sustain an audience when most of the hip-hop fan base have always thought you were a lame? Because if there's any problem that has plagued the Canadian rapper known to the world as Dax for his entire
He's
career,
Canadian? I never knew he was Canadian. Shout out all my Canadian. Shout out Drake.
It's this one. As try as he might, he spent more time being a punchline in the genre than anything close to being treated as a serious artist.
And then he said he would beat me in a boxing match.
KSI! Bro, I remember this, bro. Whatever happened to this? This truly showed me that Dax was just bro was just in it for like the clout, you know. So I mean, Dax been an up and coming rapper for like the last 8 years, bro. But he's still grinding, bro, and I respect it, you know. And you know, I feel like it's really smart because it has a lot of people talking about him, you know, doing stuff that would traditionally be seen as corny in hip hop. You know, he has his own audience base, and he's consistent. You know, that's all you really need, bro. And good on him for not responding to the hate. Because I feel like that entirely the hate that he's receiving, or like the hate from like the people that's calling him corny, I feel like in essence it's actually fueling his whole train and his whole hype train at the end of the day. I'm not sure if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but you know, if it gets the numbers up for him, you know, to each his own.
I'm cut from a different cloth. This circus act monkey. This is all you need. I'll give you one of those.
Yeah, I knew this was delusional, so I just left it. I mean, you guys gotta remember, this is the same guy that said he was gonna win a Grammy and an Oscar in the same year. So he's clearly not alright in the head. Oh,
shout out Toxic Joshua, man. Toxic Josh in the building. You know what I'm saying? Big W's in the chat. Big W's in the chat. We love Gut. We love Gut.
Just extremely optimistic. But hey, prove me wrong, Dax.
Yet through it all, he'd keep going regardless, amassing a unique fan base and millions of views. The only problem is it's hard to tell whether most of those clicks are coming from supporters or from people who've just come aboard to mock him.
Bro, I keep seeing this guy on Reels, bro. He's so funny.
I needed somewhere to keep my mistakes. I didn't want my family. Imbalance inside me chemically up, down.
Excuse me, hello? Why are you acting like a bitch?
Because I gave you too many chances to understand that. Shut that shit up.
It's your boy Luesta, and this is why Dax can't escape being the corniest rapper alive. But first, let's work out how he got branded with this very unfortunate label to begin with. Dax's come-up story is a simple one of an average working individual striving for something greater. Raised in Ottawa, Canada, Dax knew that he wanted a taste of the good life. Although originally, he didn't know exactly what it was he was looking for, and basically fell into rapping in a strange, circular fashion. Amid his well-documented years spent as a janitor, Dax caught his break when inspiration struck in an unlikely fashion.
Went to prep school, went to junior college in Casper, Wyoming. Finally got to Division I at the University of Montana. That didn't work out. Transferred to D2 back in Kansas at Newman University. Became an overnight janitor. Started writing poetry. The poetry turned into music, and now I do it full time.
After doing several remixes of popular tracks, the release of a US election-themed remix of Timmy Turner caused a lot of commotion more than anyone could have expected.
Oh my gosh, bro. But I can remember this back in the day, bro. He made the Bad Bobby songs. That was crazy.
I'm walking to the mall, and Designer at that time had dropped Timmy Turner. He drops Timmy Turner. I love the song. I was like, I used to listen to all types of music, but then I love this shit. So I'm just walking to the mall, and I just go, Hillary Clinton, lost the Trump and now we tripping. Thank God I got a passport. Couple months I'm going missing, right back to Canada, cause it's violent, looting and riots, wildin' they wildin'.
Yeah.
Democratic Party crying, all the Republicans smiling. So I made that.
Yeah.
So I recorded that video,
What?
put it on Instagram, and it was doing better.
You did not make that with just walking to the mall, bro.
So I made that.
Yeah.
So I recorded that video, put it on Instagram, and it was doing better than like any video I'd ever posted.
Alongside a novelty track dubbed Catch Me Outside, alongside Daniel Bergoli, which garnered 22 million views, Dax's output was initially very geared towards YouTube, as while he made tracks of his own, he quickly realized that the songs of other people's that he repurposed were what were truly doing numbers. And from his early days onward, Dax exhibited a whole lot of skill when it came to just sheer rapping ability that had some fans suggesting his lyrical miracle style that was deeply indebted to Eminem was part of the antidote to scenes like mumble and SoundCloud rap. But the problem was that his corny lyrics and attempts to capitalize on big existing songs meant that it was nearly impossible to truly rock with, as even those who admired him on some level were deterred by his antics. Just look at this poll, which the winning vote was that he's technically okay, but too cringy. But while the issues people took with his lyrics were one thing, the reputation he was beginning to build for himself away from the mic only cemented the idea that he was about as lame as they come.
I guess there's Dax, but like
I didn't know him. That's it.
I mean, but he's a poor man's Hobson, and Hobson is a poor man's Eminem.
And
so
Eminem
why
is
would
a poor man's Kendrick.
and Eminem's a poor man's
I
Kendrick.
don't think
So
that, just so you
why
know.
would anyone want to?
Okay, all right. I don't know if that statement is true. Eminem is not a poor man's Kendrick, bro. Eminem is Eminem, bro. Like, don't disrespect the GOAT like that. Come on now, kids.
Listen to a poor man's poor man.
Although the person who really deserved all of the smoke was the guy who said that Eminem was a poor man's Kendrick, these comments about Dax were enough to start beef between the British streamer turned rapper and Dax. Following a diss track aimed at KSI between him and Quadeca, things progressed to the point that it looked like it was going to come to blows. And it's fair to say that the plans to box KSI didn't help, particularly because of how he acted like he was ready to throw hands.
When am I fighting KSI? Right now, it looks like it's either going to be right before my tour or right after my tour. You know, obviously to go on tour, I signed a contract and I'm being paid thousands of dollars, so I got to check in with them to make sure just like what are the stipulations, because obviously get a concussion is not something you can do before a 55 show tour across all of America. So if that checks out, then I'll fight him right after when I get off tour, probably a couple weeks after, just to get a couple training in. But I'm starting training tomorrow. But either way, the fight's going down.
But it really became a bad look when he later backed out of the fight. Despite KSI meeting Dax's overly ambitious requirements for the fight to go down, including a 5-star hotel, 5-class flights, and a car with a personalized license plate to take him to the airport. Clearly, Dax's brief window of fame up to that point made him believe that he should be treated like a star above all else. Because while this was the first, this wasn't the only instance of him being a diva. During his early career, Dax was intent on upholding a real air of pleasantness and acting like he was there to inspire the masses. But it was soon revealed that he was capable of being way more two-faced and self-serving than he'd like you to believe. Among the most notable examples of this came when Dax snaked fellow rapper Crypt over a feature. Originally, the two worked together on a KSI diss track before they were encouraged to collaborate again after initially attempting to charge him $3,000 on a feature. After they negotiated a price of $1,000, Crypt decided to proceed, even though he'd been given prior warning over what could go wrong, including a half-assed verse. But from there, things just kept getting worse.
So this is where things start to get really sour for me. So I sent him the beat, told him where to start rapping, and told him to have fun with it. Dax never texted me back after that. I got an email from his producer like really late that night with what he sent me, but Dax never told me that it was sent or anything. I think I actually saw it like the next morning.
After he delivered a brief contribution, Quadeca and Screwface were enlisted to make the track more robust. Upon hearing that, Dax demanded to re-record his contribution, and almost instantly, it was believed that he had sent subliminals to his fellow YouTube rappers on the track.
But he hears Screws and Quadecas and he's like, you know, resend it. I want resend it with my part out. I want to redo mine. Which is already an instance like, one, he knows the first verse he sent me was not good, and two, that's just a no-no. You don't change your verse when you hear somebody else's because you feel some type of way about your own verse. You realize it's not that good. But regardless, he changes his verse to what you guys hear now. And there's a line in there that clearly is a shot at all of us on the song, where he's talking about 3 dudes and a goat, saying that, you know, all 3 of us, Quadeca, me, and Screw, are just dudes, and that he's the GOAT. He's on the track. Like, he's the greatest of all time. It's just 3 of us with him on this song that turned it into a hit single. And Screw was fucking pissed. Like, he was livid, called me at like 4 o'clock in the morning, mad as fuck over this. So everybody's gonna hear the song and realize he has the worst verse on the song. And if you listen to the song, like punchlines, flow, like stuff that we're talking about, he has the worst verse on that song. And I even said this back when I thought very highly of Dax. I have seen Dax put so much effort into a song before, and like just seeing this, like after seeing him put effort into a song, it really hurt. Like it really bothered me that he would do that to me. Somebody that's shown him nothing but respect and praised him highly.
After the controversy surrounding it emerged, he then backpedaled and tried to disavow the song.
What I'm so upset about is that he lied to me, because my fans see that he's not pushing the song and they're questioning him on it. I never said anything about it. Never said anything about Dax not pushing the song. My fans realized it. They realized he wasn't doing shit with it. And they're hitting him up in the DMs like, why aren't you sharing this song? And the thing that irritates me the most is that he said he didn't like the song or believe in it at all. Even though like, he's telling me in messages that it's fire and that it's legendary, he's excited for the video to drop, send me the song so I can put it in my drive, but then behind my back saying that he doesn't like the song at all, doesn't believe in it, the video and audio is not up to quality and all this other shit. It's like, bro, if you don't like the fucking song, tell me. Don't just go behind my back saying it's shit. Don't lie to my face. I can't stand a liar.
But this then led to subsequent diss tracks, leading them to finally reconcile down the road.
And he messaged me on Twitter with a very, very nice, long, sincere, heartfelt, man-to-man apology. Even if he said he's sorry on publicly and stuff like that, that doesn't mean shit to me. But if you say it to me in person where nobody else can see your games, you're not putting on a show for anybody else, that's when it feels genuine to me.
But this was far from the only instance where he was accused of being a conniving scam artist.
From the start, the set price was not given. They intentionally told Dario to pay through PayPal friends and family, knowing he wouldn't be able to get purchase protection, wouldn't give the down payment back even though it was not specified that it was non-refundable, pressured him with saying his friends were wrong and that this may be the biggest feature he ever gets, refused to drive less than an hour to sign a contract which was desperately needed at this point, and then tried to get Dario to pay $2,000 without a contract to sign a contract.
On top of flagrantly dipping after taking a fee for a track, there were also claims he'd stolen a song from the deceased Lil Peep.
The story goes that a rapper named Blaine had bought a Lil Peep verse from another rapper named Derek Dean, who was one of Lil Peep's close friends before he had died. While Blaine was making his new song, he got another rapper on as well named Love Sad Kid, but Lil Peep had sadly passed away before it was done, but they still wanted to release the song. The only thing was that with the new mix, there was an extra spot on it. So Ruiner ended up being able to get Dax actually involved in the project, and got him on the song with the agreement that the song would be put on Dax's channel with everyone getting their proper credit for the work they put into it. Dax then asked for the stems for the song so that he would be able to get it all approved by Atlantic. For those of you who don't know what stems are, they're basically the different layers that make up the components of a song. Dax had also said that no one was going to steal anything from Blaine and that he had absolutely nothing to worry about. Dax took the Lil Peep hook, got a brand new producer to make a new beat for the song, got the producer to mix Lil Peep's hook again, deleted everybody else's verses off of the song, and recorded 2 new verses to put on in their spots instead. And to make things worse, Dax ended up actually recording a music video for the new version of the song, and where Peep's verses were, he stole footage from Lil Peep's photographer and used those.
Now, stealing a track from an up-and-coming artist like Blaine by taking the stems and stripping everything else would have been already bad enough. But when you realize that he was actually using music from a deceased artist, trying to boost his own image off the fame that Peep gained after his death, it suddenly becomes a really bad look. However, the good times of getting away with everything scot-free wasn't going to last forever, because soon he was about to get embarrassed online over a diss track. Released back in January 2019, Dax unveiled I'm Not Joyner.
I remember this stuff, bro. This was a crazy ass time, bro. You can't be beefing with no Tory Lanez, bro.
Or Don Q, in response to his countryman Tory Lanez, claiming that he was the hardest rapper out. For the most part, Dax kept it rap and didn't veer towards any personal territory. But for the hot-headed Tory, it wasn't enough. So he decided to catch up with him and make Dax apologize in front of the entire world.
Come here, shit, or this shit's not gonna end, man. Or this is not gonna end. Apologize, bro. Apologize, bro. Or you know what's going on. Apologize, my apologize. I got you, bro. Apologize. Got you, man. Say sorry. My bad for the Say sorry. Sorry, G. All right, bet. I got you.
And when Lanez was asked why he ran up on him like this, he claims he did it purely because he could.
Why'd you post the video? Because you did post a video. Why did you? Posted a video of him saying, I'm sorry. Because I felt like at the end of the day, this is funny to me. Because now my adrenaline's high. I just seen you run down the street. This is now funny to me, and now this is entertaining, and this is the prize of my entertainment. The disrespect I thought that you had, it just you still had it, but you just weren't that guy in front of my face. So I found it wild and amusing.
Although opinion was split on whether Tory's behavior was embarrassing in itself, Dax claimed it wasn't corny whatsoever, and said that his restraint showed a better way.
My thing is, why did you apologize on camera?
First of all, let me say this, my G. What me and Tory Lanez did last night is the biggest revolution in hip-hop history. We've totally revolutionized the game. You see, things don't need to end in brutality and fatality. It set a standard for 2019 that things don't need to end poorly. You know, people want to get back home to their families. He did what he had to do. I did what I had to do. Made it back to my family. I'm good. I have no animosity towards him or anybody. You don't have to let your pride get the best of you in a compromising situation. Let it lead to your parents living longer than you.
In isolation, that one statement might have actually yielded him some goodwill. Instead, Dax basically made a whole press run out of it, as at the end of the day, this was the closest he'd ever been to an artist who had charted.
Thing pulls up, now I'm running, boom, 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 boom. Dudes run after me, boom, boom, boom. I'm on the floor at one point. I'm like, this is not that serious. I calmed down like crazy. And then like everyone else calmed down. Yeah, I was like, dog, over a diss track? Like, I was like, bro, I'm trying to go home, bro. He's like, Dax, come in. I'm like, dog, bro, I'm hungry, dog.
Yeah.
And then I walk to the car, and that's when you see me on the car, like tired as shit. Just like, I've always told myself, like, I'm never gonna let social media make me make dumb decisions.
But even with the notoriety the situation presented, it did nothing to get him closer to his goals of winning Grammys, Oscars, and every other award imaginable. All it bought him was his reputation as the corniest rapper alive being almost cemented.
Nah, I can't. Nah, I just can't. It's like, come on, bro, this is corny. Ain't this the guy that said sorry to Tory Lanez or something?
Amid all the damage he'd taken, it's truly surprising that Dax managed.
You're getting known for the guy that apologized. It's crazy. I mean, but at the end of the day, bro, if you're firing out the heat and you can't take it back, bro, it is what it is.
To keep it pushing and didn't fade into obscurity. It appears that no matter what you throw at Dax, he'll find a way to perverse through the hate, as at this point, even those who see him as a laughingstock had to give him credit for conjuring up an audience.
Dax, let's see what his Spotify listeners are saying. He said he was gonna make it at this point. I'm pretty sure he said he was gonna make it in the music industry by now. 2.1 million. That you know what? Fair play. I don't know if that's made it. I guess maybe for you.
Besides that, Dax isn't completely oblivious to how the world views him, even referencing it on tracks like The Next Rap God 2, while also claiming that he's amongst the best there is.
They say I say nothing, that I'm corny and outdated. If I rapped in the 90s, I'd probably be famous.
As well as claiming the industry's sick, Dax is the vaccine. Top 5 in this bitch, at least the past 3. But no matter how hard he tries, nobody's backing this diss track, except for people who don't really listen to rap in the first place. Dax makes music for white people that have never encountered a black person in real life. What makes matters worse is how he's vying for his hero Slim Shady's attention to the point that it was cringe-inducing. Most notably, this plea at the end of a music video. "Dear Eminem, you never called, so I made this. Hit me up." Slotted into the informal subgenre of coworker music, his rep as rap for people who don't normally engage in the genre was only furthered when he moved into country, with tracks like Dear Alcohol, which actually went platinum. And in this lane, he's also making his own blatant retreats of other artists' music, where he ceased to be the savior of lyrical miracle rap to instead just do anything that would make him a buck. Granted, he definitely seems to have helped people with the track.
I want to even talk about Dear Alcohol and Depression because those two songs, I know a lot of people, I was scrolling through the comments, it resonated with me, but it resonated with a lot of people on YouTube too. You're really helping people out there, man.
Yeah, there's been a lot of stories that people have been sending me because of Dear Alcohol. So yeah, I've heard a lot of stories, a lot of people getting the lyrics tattooed. It's crazy. Alcohol is really, and it's glamorized too. So it's really a problem that I think society really sweeps under the rug. So yeah, I've received a lot of heartwarming messages.
But now, he seems to be trying to replicate that with cynical calls to action, with captions like, "Can anyone relate?" even if he doesn't actually spell it correctly. Seeking to carve out a niche as the voice of the disenfranchised, he's took this a step further by working on music alongside MAGA rappers such as Tom MacDonald, with his need to cater to this niche prompting one infamous line in a track where he forgave white people for slavery on behalf of black people. If you have a favorable view of Dax, then maybe he is truly trying to bridge gaps and educate. He may be pandering or exploiting these nuanced issues for his own gain.
Yeah, for me, it's all about the words. I write songs that are about things I've been through, that I'm trying to avoid, manifest, or that I've seen. So a lot of mental health things,
And for his biggest naysayers, these attempts to be profound landing flat are a crucial part of his corniness. I think the biggest thing with a lot of coworker music is that they're trying to be too deep, but it's extremely not personal. Listening to someone like Dax sing about their struggles has the same vibe as the rich kid in middle school doing an essay on poverty. In the midst of struggling to move beyond his corny label, his near constant promotion of a 5-year-old song known as Joker really isn't helping.
Bro, the memes generated from this are generational.
You're in pain. I can tell by what you're saying, but my bad.
Instead, it has only fed into the content of a TikTok creator known as Danny Anine, whose videos often equate to him basically
this dude single-handedly probably blew up, I'd say 90% blew up just because of Dax. Dax is making fun of Dax, essentially. So, I mean, Dax might be the new method, bro.
laughing at Dax.
Is this doing one bleeding? Maybe you think I'm just cheating.
In fact, the culture of clowning him is so enforced to the point that he can't even claim an Uber driver was bumping his track without it being met with mockery. This is the 9th Uber driver I've seen play one of your songs. Do you just hold them at gunpoint? The driver was definitely forced to play this shit. Set to embark on a US tour, he succeeded against all odds. Because ultimately, people who aren't aware of the internet and hip-hop's perception of him may be able to take the music at face value and find something that they enjoy. But unfortunately for Dax, that ship has sailed with much of his target audience long ago. And if he ever hoped to be beloved in that lane, then he's going to spend his entire life chasing something that's not forthcoming. Still, get your bag while you can, Dax. You've come a long way from those janitor days. It's your boy Luesta, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.
I mean, you gotta give it to Lil Daxy, man. You gotta give it to Dax, bro. I mean, dude made it, but you know, regardless of what anybody says, he has his audience, and he does his thing. You know, regardless of what anybody says about his art and about the stuff that he's putting out. But speaking of coworker music and specifically Dax and Tom McDonald, shout out Tom McDonald, there was an interesting video made by Matty Balls a few days ago called "The 5 Levels of Coworker Music"
YouTube.
that I actually
If you're
wanted
like
to check
me,
out.
you enjoy.
And I actually haven't seen this video yet, so let me jump ahead and see.
But first, what even is coworker music? Coworker music is a term that is similar to NPC music, or basically even referring to your coworkers as NPCs with basic music taste. Essentially, it was a term that pompous, arrogant, egotistical people would use to demean other people's music taste. The kind of people that think you're an idiot if you don't like their favorite super niche artists like Death Grips or something like that. Or people that spend their Friday nights on Rate Your Music. However, I do think this term has a little bit of truth to it. Back when it was first started, it still represented the NPC music sort of phrase, where basically the songs are very non-offensive corporate type songs that can be played anywhere to anyone. These are songs that aren't breaking through any boundaries, just safe, simple songs you'd hear at the grocery store or feel comfortable playing at work.
Some of you guys aren't getting it. Not all corporate songs are corporate hype songs. There's a lot of overlap, but there's different genres. Any Sia song, Pyramid Scheme music, Maroon 5, retail music, Imagine Dragons, anime music, Uptown Funk, middle school music, Flow Rida, homecoming music, Ed Sheeran,
Flow Rida as a concept,
prom music, AC/DC, movie trailer music, Katy Perry, presidential rally music, High Hopes by Panic at the Disco, all of the above.
Oh my
AJR.
God, that song.
This is the music they'll play in hell as you're being tortured for the rest of time.
I don't necessarily agree with all of his takes, but you get the point. However, over time, I feel like coworker music, the term, has been niched down to specifically target the weirder coworkers you might have. Or sometimes it's just used to describe music you don't like.
Thought coworker music was just easily recognizable music that you played when you were with your coworkers in case you ever got a hold of the aux. You're not gonna start playing Benji Bluebills in the middle of the fucking Walmart break room. So, you know, you'll turn on something recognizable, maybe some Drake. But now I'm seeing that coworker music is just being used to describe any music that you don't like. Yo, Joey Badass just dropped yesterday. You heard it?
Nah, that's coworker music, bro.
Joey? That new Drake and P&D's dropping soon. You excited?
Drake in the big 2025. Relax.
I've seen the phrase coworker music popping up more and more in relation to artists with weirder or worse music than what the term used to be used for. I mean, I'm sure some of you have seen the memes.
Coworker music is real, cause tell me why you would connect to aux and play this at full volume the way I mean, if you need that energy boost, man, some people just need that.
Bro, his new album is so fire.
What? Is that Boosie?
Bro, his new album is so fire.
Hey there, fellas. What y'all talking about?
Oh, Tyler's new album.
Tyler? Who's that? Just like some other rapper?
He's pretty good.
Those guys all sound the same.
Like
if you guys are interested, I can put you on some real music. How about it?
Sure, Bob.
Your music taste might not be as refined as mine, but I think you'll like it. There's a fire in my soul.
So that's why I've decided to do 5 different levels, since there are different uses of this term in different situations. Couple of quick disclaimers as well. First, this video format was inspired by Jay Diggs, who made a very interesting video on industry plants, and I thought this format fit the coworker music conversation perfectly, so shout out to him. Also, if you like an artist in this video or a song, or you maybe are an artist in this video, you don't need to feel bad. Some people are super into music and others aren't. Kind of like how I'm super into music, but I don't really care that much about movies, and I probably have a pretty basic taste. I mean, if it's not an action movie or a comedy, there's a good chance I'm not watching it. So this video isn't to make fun of anyone, although I will be cracking a couple jokes here and there. Anyways, let's get into level 1. Level 1. pop music. At the very most basic definition of coworker music, you have the inoffensive songs that don't push the needle at all. Just songs made for as wide an audience as possible. They aren't necessarily bad, they're just kind of bland. This level is very subjective, but I really think any song with like 1 billion streams could fall into this category. I worked at a Kroger for like 5 years, so I think really any song that they would play over the loudspeaker would count as a level 1. A good example is Watermelon Sugar by Harry Styles, because that was on repeat. Another good one could be Sunflower by Post Malone and Sway Lee. Personally, I think both of these are good songs, but they are super basic. So if these are some of your favorite songs of all time, I think you'd qualify for level 1. But we don't only have coworkers who listen to pop music. This applies to other genres too, with a good example being How You Remind Me by Nickelback. Again, not a bad song at all, but it just sounds like something that would be in a Transformers soundtrack. Another great example is A Bar Song by Shabuzi. Again, it isn't a bad song by any means, but it sounds like it was literally made for background music at a bar in the boonies. I mean, I guess the name is A Bar Song, so I guess that makes sense. In my opinion, though,
it was made with intent for its use. You know, I'm not sure what type of coworker I am. I mean, I listen to all kinds of weird stuff, so it just depends. If it sounds good, it sounds good. I'm an advocate for that.
The prime examples for level 1 is Benson Boone, who just came out of nowhere making very bland and basic songs that aren't necessarily bad, but they definitely aren't anything special. You could probably put a bunch of Drake songs in here too. Really just anything super popular where if it's your favorite song of all time, you probably have a pretty surface level music taste, which is totally fine, by the way. I think I enjoy every song I listed so far, but level 2 is where it starts to get a little bit worse. Level 2. Popular, but not that good. Have you ever heard a song on the radio that you just hate? I remember there were a few on that Kroger playlist that I would hear once an hour for 8 hours straight, and it would just drive me insane. For me, one song that sticks out was The Middle by Jimmy Eat World. I don't even think it's a bad song, but that chorus after hearing it 5,000 times is just ear-piercing. And again, the songs in level 2 can be quite subjective. They're still extremely popular, just a bit more contentious in the public eye. Another great example of that is Dance Monkey by Tones and I.
Bro, this song is such a cancer, bruh. Oh my god, where are the days?
An extremely popular song that is played at tons of events, but there are also a lot of people that hate this song. Not only is level 2 basic and soulless like level 1, but it has a few elements
I hate this song so much. Worst song in existence.
That make people hate it. Dance Monkey in particular, it's probably just the voice that bugs me and others. I just can't stand the cadence she does on that song, but clearly others enjoy it. Another good example is Imagine Dragons, a super popular and successful band in the mid-2010s, but a lot of people also hate them. I think a lot of pop songs in like the mid-2010s had that type of vibe where it was good when I was 13, but I could never see myself listening to it now. Another group of songs that I think fits well in this category is the more annoying pop music, like Single Ladies by Beyonce or Bad Blood by Taylor Swift. Maybe a better way of describing level 2 is songs that age poorly. Sure, they may have been fun when they came out, but quickly they became overplayed and outdated. A great example of that is Happy by Pharrell Williams. It's a good song, but it's also not a good song. I don't know how to describe it. Pharrell is an extremely talented artist, of course, don't get me wrong, but this song just got so repetitive and annoying that it kind of hurts to listen to in 2025. Again though, level 2 is very subjective. These songs are still very popular and have people that enjoy them, despite a lot of others disliking them. But level 3 is where it starts to get tricky. Level 3, niche down. Level 3 has the coworker who has their own music taste, they like their own genres, and it fits their personality. But these songs can also be considered quite controversial when it comes to music enthusiasts. Like, I had a coworker one time who unironically liked Game Over by Falling in Reverse.
My life is like a video game, trying hard to beat the stage.
I mean, if you like this, good for you for listening to
Trying hard to beat the stage.
What you like, but that song is rough. And again, not every song in level 3 is inherently bad. For example, I think an artist that would fit well into this category is NF.
Where the beat go? Oh, ain't that something? Drums came in, you ain't see that coming.
Now, this song isn't inherently bad, but one thing I've noticed with coworker music is there's a lot of these over-dramatic beats or instrumentals, or almost triumphant sort of melodies, and then the writing is just pretty bland. Of course, again, this is subjective, and I don't hate that song, but it's not my favorite. I saw someone unironically comment this under NF's song. I'm probably older than your dad, but I know a creative genius when I see one, and this guy has it. I like maybe 1% of all rap out there, and this is one. Eminem has the other other songs in that 1%. These are the types of people in level 3. Something you see a lot of in level 3 is songs that are trying too hard to be something they're not, or songs that are outdated or trying to bring back a trend, like our guy Machine Gun Kelly. Machine Gun Kelly has a big fan base, but many of those in the music community see him as someone who is making mediocre pop punk, just copying people who already did it, with a much worse voice, might I add. His System of a Down cover is probably one of the most flat vocal performances I've ever heard. Listen to that and then the original and tell me what's better. And also, his Misery Business cover was bad too. I did not like that at all. I think the best way to describe songs like these is they're something I probably would have listened to and enjoyed when I first started learning a lot about music. But as I found the artists that these people were inspired by, or the genre they are trying to recreate, the roots of the music, I enjoy that a lot more, which in turn leaves me feeling like MGK, for example, is a cheap knockoff. Logic, as another example, is someone I used to like a lot when I was younger. But as I listen to more and more rap music, I realize Logic is just kind of a watered down version compared to a lot of the genre's innovators. Like, there's even a video, it's called like 5 minutes of Logic copying Kendrick, and that just kind of ruined it for me. On top of this, like I said, level 3 and onwards tend to try too hard to come off as something they aren't. Not just in the sense of trying to reinvent a genre unsuccessfully, but in other ways too. Like a rapper pretending to be tough in his rap songs but selling it poorly, such as Lil Mabu, the super rich kid who was acting all hard on drill beats. If you like Lil Mabu's music, you are a level 3 coworker music enjoyer. But I think a commenter on one of my previous videos where I mentioned coworker music put it best when he said, I think the biggest issue with a lot of coworker music, including rap, is that it's trying to be deep, but it's extremely non-personal. Yeah, they're singing about depression, substance abuse, heartbreak, but it's very formulaic, and it doesn't feel like things they actually experienced. And as such, the music overall just doesn't have the emotional weight it needs, either because it's trying to stay upbeat, or because the artist's lived experiences don't reflect the music, so it comes off as corny. Listening to someone like MGK or Dax sing about their struggles has the same vibe as the rich kid in middle school doing an essay on poverty. The personal touches that matter in it just aren't there. Undoubtedly, this is the best way to say it. And don't worry, we're gonna get to Dax, but first we have to get through level 4. Not great, sorta cringy, but somehow they still have fans. Level 4 is where things start to get rough, and the songs start to get kind of bad. Think of songs like Thick of It by KSI or Astronaut in the Ocean. One song that I think fits well in level 4, or even an artist, is Civ, who has gone viral on platforms like TikTok and Instagram Reels.
You pop out at 1 in the morning, you really wanna know this kind of life never boring.
I guess his whole thing that he has like this bear character that raps the songs, I don't know. And these songs aren't bad necessarily, but they aren't great, and it's just kind of cringy. It sounds forced. Like I strongly feel like the guy who made that song isn't actually popping out at 1 in the morning. There are a couple of other artists who have blown up online for making coworker
what was this trend, bro? You'll be married in a year in the suburbs. I don't know. I always skip past those videos. I couldn't take it, bro. I could not take the screaming and yelping. I mean, to each his own, bro. Like I'm sure that might have been a very emotional track for him, but I'm just like, bro, I could not. I just had to scroll past that.
Music that I think fit perfectly in level 4, like Brendan Abernathy.
You'll be married in a year in the suburbs with a kid on the way in 3. Convincing yourself you're living the American dream. And I'll be dancing out California. Kid who got it all wrong.
Shout out this dude,
myself. One day I'll write a love song.
It's not bad, bro. I'm not hating on it, bro. I'm just like,
Him getting up on his toes is what really sent it over the line for me. And this got so big that I couldn't get it out of my head for a while, so I guess it isn't that bad inherently. And it got to the point where even Drewski was parodying it.
You'll be married in a year in the suburbs with a kid on the way in. And I'll be dancing out California. The kid who got it all wrong.
Again, the song isn't that bad, but it doesn't sound too great though, and it was kind of cringy. However, he still has fans, which is great.
Thanks.
Another song that went viral this year that has that same sort of vibe is We Will Never Die by Kyle Gordon.
We are young, fire in our soul. We go big
What?
or go
How have I never heard of this song?
together.
But what's really funny, and I somehow never knew this, is that Kyle Gordon is actually like a musical comedian. It becomes pretty obvious when you listen to the chorus and hear him say, "No one we know will ever die. Our moms and dads will never die," which is pretty funny. And he's also the same guy responsible for this song I've seen going viral online too. So since he's making that satirical song, though, making fun of that genre of overdramatic millennial music, I think that qualifies that whole genre, I guess, as level 4 coworker music. But these artists aren't just limited to going viral on short form platforms. I think an artist that I would throw in level 4 is Baby No Money. Don't get me wrong, he has some decent songs and he seems like a cool guy, but a lot of his songs are just kind of meme songs or gimmick songs. I do get why he has a fan base of like internet people who find this music entertaining, but honestly I enjoyed some of his old stuff a bit more, and I think he used to make some great songs back in the day. Once he introduced a bunch of gimmicks and jokes, it just made the music a bit harder to seriously enjoy. Quality wise, I think Baby No Money could be in like level 3 with some songs in level 2, but the gimmicks and persona he does makes his music more into content instead of music itself, which is why I think level 4 is fitting. Overall, I think the best way to describe level 4 coworker music or artists is when the music starts transitioning more from actual music, more into gimmicky content sort of stuff that for one reason or another is a little bit cringy, probably isn't the best song you've ever heard, but people still enjoy it and listen to it. However, that is not the case for level 5. Level 5, coworker music final boss. Or bosses. I'm just going to throw a quick trigger warning for level 5 because this was miserable to listen to and write. Let's continue. The coworker music final boss is someone that makes very weird or just bad music that you typically find in the depths of the internet. That's right, I'm talking about short form social media platforms. Instagram Reels, TikTok, YouTube Shorts, Facebook Shorts. I bet you didn't even know that was a thing. I didn't either. But really, it's just brain rot stuff. I guess the best way to describe it is music made intended to be a meme or that has been turned into a meme. And a good example of this is Chandler.
Look at my Sonic! Got up on stage around 9 and the next day they call it
What?
Shit is bubonic.
Honestly, I think Chandler should be in level 4 because his music isn't that bad, but him and his music have just been memed into oblivion, with many referring to him as a coworker music final boss. People have also made a lot.
My neck is blue, but my collar's red, or something like that. My collar's blue, but my neck is red. I gotta work all day, keep my family fed. Y'all heard that one? That's a crazy, that's a crazy vibe.
The jokes because he kind of looks like the streamer Queso, so that's probably part of it as well.
Queso the rapper.
They started throwing it back. I'm about all of the features, but I take a like in the ass. I don't even go out in the house no more. I get it right where I'm at.
Someone who portrays level 5 the best is Dax. Dax is the perfect example of this. In fact, I just did a video a couple of weeks ago talking about him and extensively went into why many view him as corny. Most of his music isn't like the
Bro, what the hell?
worst thing ever, but the skits he does to promote his music as well as a handful of his songs can tend to be pretty cringe.
Shut up, freak.
Bro, what is this guy doing, bro?
You're insane. You're in pain. I can tell by what you're saying.
This next one's my personal favorite.
An imbalance inside me chemically. Up, down, up, down.
I've spoke about Dax in detail though, and I'm sure these clips are pretty self-explanatory. And the main other person I've seen popping up lately that people are calling coworker music, and that I think qualifies for level 5, is Kill Carl.
I like to cuss like I was raised in a barn. Fuck shit, piss, cock, titties, and darn. You fuck with my friends and you're gonna fucking
This guy has a whole bunch more music that I won't subject you guys to, but it's all pretty similar. And the commenters describe his stuff pretty well. Music for people with Joker tattoos. As music, this is pretty crappy, but it barely feels like actual music because it seems like it was created specifically for TikTok. I can't really imagine anyone listening to this with headphones on but I can see how it works as video content. And this is probably one of the best ways to describe level 5. Another YouTuber named Shun or whatever did a video about coworker music a while ago and gave an interesting take about why the artist may be doing this.
The sad part is when you see the artists that are clearly crossing boundaries of acceptability to get attention, and it sucks that the modern landscape has pushed them there. Looking back to the early 2010s, which of course was like 3 years ago, I remember the cringe or shock factor helping songs become viral. This happened with Rebecca Black's Friday, or to some extent Miley Cyrus's Wrecking Ball, which had a music video the world just wasn't ready to see yet. After that, there was this era of satire meme music helping artists blow up. At some point, another transition occurred, and we now have this environment where, after what feels like an ever-accelerating arms race of made-for-virality content, we see artists desperately trying to get ahead by seeing who can rage bait people into engaging with their content the most. Something about that feels wrong to me.
And this could definitely be applicable to everyone on every level of this list. Level 1 and 2 are making super overproduced, squeaky clean music to appeal to as many people as possible and make money. Level 3 probably doesn't really fit into this, but level 4 and 5 I think are making music that they know may be cringy or come off as corny to purposely do one of two things. Either to appeal to a super niche audience that they know will actually like their music, while most others won't, or to rage bait you into listening to their songs or make meme songs that you find entertaining so you play with your friends or something like that. Regardless, for everybody the goal is probably money and clout.
If there's one real takeaway from this video, I guess it would just be, don't get mad at these posts because they're like without fail meant to be bad. I'm being serious here. If you see any shit music in your feed, please go to their account and scroll back. It's like a fun little game you can play with yourself to see the transition from I want to make music to I need to get impressions, and then they just like lose their minds.
Years ago, I actually interviewed a guy named Sadzilla for a video about Spotify playlists, and recently he's been going viral for making quote-unquote coworker music as well. So, since I've seen him go viral lately with this trend, I figured that I'd reach out for his perspective. He agreed with my different definitions of coworker music, with a lot of people mocking it because they think they have this superior taste. He also said that he thinks artists like Dax lean into it because the people mocking it do boost engagement, helping the content reach its intended audience as well. Sadzilla concluded saying, "For me personally, when I stopped caring about being the best or trying to be taken super seriously, and just started having fun with my music, everything clicked. The engagement I get now feels different. Some folks might find it cringy, but I'm not making it for them. I'm making stuff that feels good to me. Even my kid loves the silly songs, and that means more than random internet opinions. At the end of the day, coworker music or NPC music is just the new meme rap. So for whatever reason, coworker music is a real thing. It's being made and it's being consumed. And if you like it or make it, good on you for listening to what you want or making whatever you want. But I do think there are a couple songs in this video that are worthy of criticism. If you like this video, you might like my video where I go much more in depth on Dax and his career, which had some pretty interesting turn. Anyways, if you enjoyed, please make
that's true, bro. I'm gonna like that video. At the end of the day, man, if it blows up and people listen to it, man, you win there, bro. It just sucks that the modern landscape, you know, that's just how it is nowadays, bro. But you know, can't complain too much. It all is what it is. You know, at the end of the day, just gotta do what you gotta do, bro. You gotta do what you gotta do to make it. You know, one day you might even see me making these meme rap music. I don't know. Okay. But, fuck, I fucked it up. I fucked up the outro. Okay. Anyway, chat. That's me for tonight. So anybody that viewed it. Shout out Rainier. He's back. I'm about to end stream though. It's been amazing. I appreciate y'all for tuning in. It's been real. I'm out here, dog. Thank y'all for watching. Shout out everybody. Okay. song goes fucking hard though. Oh, is that scandalous? Yeah, these supermodel bitches be fans. Drop the pack up to a man and then I go hold hands with them. Louis sandals, crazy, how is that scandalous? Yeah, these supermodel bitches be fans. Drop the pack up to a man and then I go hold hands with them. Mink, catch him double in the fire. Put my chain under the sink, kiss him double in the bird. Pussy pink, son of brick, hit the top and make it squirt. Put a snake under the ground, it's like I'm double in the dirt. She fucking with my rap, sounding very different. Swallowing these taps, big belly with it. Fucking on her friend and she already stepping in the loops, got down, Kelly Kelly with it. Louis V sandals, crazy, how is that scandalous? Yeah, these supermodel bitches be fans. Drop the pack up to a man and then I go hold hands with her. Louis V sandals, crazy, how is that scandalous? Yeah, these supermodel bitches be fans. Drop the pack up to a man and then I go hold hands with her. Alright, y'all, chat. Thank y'all for watching. I appreciate y'all. Y'all have a good rest of y'all night.